All right, good morning. Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and good morning. Good evening. We're going to get started. It's 7:15. Let's call to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Calvo,
Present.
Ms. Garcia Robles,
Present.
Ms. Pacheco,
Present.
Ms. Perez is absent. Mr. Rodriguez, oh, he's
Present.
here. Mr. Rodriguez,
Present.
Mr. Tonidor,
Present.
Mr. Zogby.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a full council.
Thank you so much. Invocation led by City Clerk.
Lord, we ask for your continued blessing upon our city. We ask that you grant the members of this council wisdom and understanding in every decision they face. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Calvo.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic that stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
See, thank you. Meeting guidelines.
All lobbyists must register with the city clerk. As a courtesy to others, please refrain from using cellular telephones or other similar electronic devices in the council chamber. A maximum of 3 speakers in favor and 3 speakers in opposition will be allowed to address the council on any one item. Each speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. No signs or placards in support of or in opposition to an item or speaker shall be permitted within the council chamber. Any person, whether participating via the web platform, telephonic conferencing, or physical presence at City Hall, interested in making comments or posing questions on matters of public concern or on any item on the agenda may do so during the meeting. Members of the public may address the city council on any item pertaining to city business during the comments and questions portion of the meeting. A member of the public is limited to 1 appearance before the city council, and the speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. The public can view public meetings on the city's YouTube page. Members of the public may hear the meeting live through telephonic conferencing using any telephone or cellular phone service. A smart device or computer are not necessary to participate in the meeting if you join by phone. All persons participating via the web platform will be muted during the meeting until called upon to be heard. Participation through Zoom requires a computer, smart mobile device with a microphone and web camera. The participant may elect to participate in the meeting using audio only or appear through both audio and video. The video function of all participants appearing through video will be turned off until called upon to be heard.
All righty, thank you. Presentations.
Sir, this presentation is postponed. The presenter had an emergency and was unable to make it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to comments and questions. Do you have any comments and questions online or?
None online?
Okay, we have any in the chamber? No worries.
I was stuck in traffic with the train.
Okay. Hit the button, the name and address, ma'am, please.
I was stuck in traffic because of the train. Millie Herrera, 4341 East States Lane. I sent a 3-page wonderful lively letter to the mayor and all the city council members about several items. The censorship, the time change of the meetings, and I made some suggestion. You want to change these meetings to start at 6 p.m. And I'm going to tell you, I work from home now, but I worked in the Biscayne Park, Miami Shores area. And I had to oftentimes ask permission to leave at 6 or 6:30. And when I left at 6:30, mind you that 103rd is all homes. I barely made it. I left today at 5:45 from East Hialeah, and just because I got stuck. So here's my recommendation. That you have 1 meeting each week on Tuesdays. Divide the land use or the zoning from the agenda items. If there's going to be a presentation that you feel is worthy of an hour or two, or one that involves children, you can have a special meeting. You can even do it Friday nights if the children, you can go to Goodlet, Mylander, and invite the community that is surrounding or related to the school. The other problem is the censorship. Listen, we're not all going to agree. We're going to fight. We're going to debate. The mayor knows I'm hot-blooded. But Councilman Perez is correct. The community seeks me out. And Angelica knows a lot of things that I'm doing. And it's very quietly done. And thank you for recognizing that. We don't agree on the marijuana. I do agree that they should have discussed the item. I'm going to be voting yes. I will bring my thoughts if you are able to bring the item before the city council, because I think you have a valid point, and I think it's a great opportunity to suggest to the state so the city can retain its right to control however you want to control it. I think it would have been perfect to just add it to Monica's. I'm against smoking. I am against smoking in the parks. Those cigarette butts everywhere, they take 600 years sometimes to disintegrate. And there's concerns all around for drugs in general, alcohol use. Listen, people can go and buy NyQuil. Kids get high on air cans. There's a lot of things that I've learned in the last years of, we have a lot of people here that have graduated from whatever university, including Harvard. But with all due respect to Mr. Calvo, he hasn't graduated from the University of Life. And when enough people die, when you see death, when your dreams are shattered because somebody just, you can die young, you can die old, you can die of no of those. And you could have someone who's a very good person just because he made a mistake smoking a joint. And that could be something that the mayor discusses with the chief, because the chief might say, you know what, he's 21, I'm not going to ruin his record, but I'm going to give him a citation to go to rehab.
All right.
Those
Thank
are my comments. I recommend that you keep the meetings at 7, but maybe break them and maybe have special meetings when you have awards for the kids, even at their school, or we have a lot of parks that have the auditorium. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you, Ms. Herrera. Appreciate it. Do you have any other public comments? No? Okay. Name and address, ma'am.
Maria Gonzalez, 1755 West 72nd Street.
Okay.
Okay, bear with me because this is something that I'm very passionate about. Because I saw the meeting last time, and I think that what happened here was horrible, okay? I'm addressing everyone, especially Angelica Pacheco. When you were elected, I came here and I said that I was gonna hold you to your promises. And one of your slogans was, haz más, habla menos, which means do more, talk less. And all I see you doing is talking. Okay, for you to say what you said about our Publix, because it's my Publix, the mayor's Publix, your Publix, it's Monica Perez's Publix, it's Alex Rizzo's Publix, all of us shop there. And I was so upset. I went and talked to the manager, Felix. He says he's never heard you. You've never gone there. He never said that. So I don't know what manager you spoke to. And you guys get free food from that Publix. So for you to even disparage that Publix for that, that's horrible. Okay.
Now, I would like to address you.
I'm not
Second,
done.
let her,
I'm
let
not
her
done.
finish. Let her finish.
I'm not
Go ahead.
done. Okay, for you, I went to the Publix and I spoke to several managers. And they said that's not true. They've never not called the police and not showed up. And for you to, you're even disrespecting the police, our police. You were elected to do things, not to make shows. And like the mayor said, you know, you do this and you go on TV, but there's no solutions. You say about the rent, oh, you know, we need to fix the rent. And you talk bad about developers. What developer are you going to get that's going to come in here and want to deal with you to do low housing? If you're putting all of them down every single time. You know, you ask for respect and you treat everyone bad. Respect is earned.
Are you done?
No, but go ahead.
Well, first of all, I would like to make a correction. I do go to that Publix. I don't receive free food. I volunteer my time to distribute food that is donated by Publix to those that are in need. And I've been doing that for many, many years through a nonprofit
So even worse.
organization. And there are several managers. The managers have changed. I have photographs of the individual smoking marijuana in the Publix parking lot near the front entrance. And I have all the employees as
Okay, wait,
witnesses.
am I getting my time back?
That's
Or
fine.
no?
Just,
Oh,
you
fine, okay.
can speak.
So I believe that making judgments, decisions, opinions, when one is not well versed on the facts of a certain situation is something that is a bit irresponsible. And there are times when actions are not permitted, such as I am not allowed to place an item on the agenda. I have no other recourse available to me than to take my item, which are the concerns brought to me by the constituents of the city of Hialeah, and take it to the public to allow them to debate it with me. And I have already, as was quoted in and an article online, I have accepted the fact that I am outnumbered. You know, there is like a little school with the principal and the students that all follow a certain lead. But my
Your time is
mission
up.
will be to educate and inform the citizens of Hialeah so they can make informed decisions come election time.
You're not informing the citizens appropriately. I sent you an email and you emailed me back and you sent me a little video. That's a joke. That's like such a, it's like, I don't know what you called it, like choose my news or something like that. I don't know what you called it. You're
and what-
putting Hialeah
Sure.
down.
What
You sent me,
qualification do you
Miss-
have
Miss
to
Millie,
I'm sorry?
Miss Millie, yeah,
make that determination?
if you want 10 more seconds to say something else, but we have to,
Oh,
That's
darn,
fine.
that's it. Respect is earned. That's
All
all.
right, you're,
Thank
thank you
you.
for your time.
Ms.
I
Millie.
understand you're biased because you're a council member's best friend.
that's fine. That's fine. Any other public comments?
Eric Johnson, Hialeah Firefighters. Council. I tried to refrain from speaking on this topic and issue, but I just can't help myself. Some allegations were levied against the city of Hialeah last week about our parks and our streets being inundated by marijuana smokers. I will say on behalf of my 240 firefighters who are in the parks every single day, maybe once or twice a day, because we actually perform our PT in the parks. That is an absolute untrue statement. It might happen. Of course it happens. Happens all over the place, not just Hialeah. But to highlight not smoking marijuana, which is already illegal in our public parks, I think the idea of the signage was to stop the smoking and vaping in the public parks and not give credence to a fact of a substance that's already illegal. We have many illegal things in Hialeah, and if anybody sees them, it's us. On a daily basis, by the way. 240 members, day and night, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. We got methamphetamines. We got heroin. We got cocaine. You name it, we got it. But we can't put signage on every park and every street saying, this is illegal. Please don't do it in our park. We'd have a list that's from top to bottom. It's unrealistic. But the allegations that were made against our parks and our streets and our people, that this is everywhere. Listen, I got to tell you, man, it's wrong. It's wrong from start to finish. And if anybody knows it, it's my guys. Because my guys are the ones who are called 24/7, 365 days a year to the overdoses, to the drugs. Now, there will always be people, that's fine. There will always be people that say, hey, I can't stand the smell of this. In fact, Angela, I'm going to give you the perfect example. Last week at my station, Station 7, I smelled this really hard aroma. It was marijuana. And there was a 62-year-old lady, because I stopped and talked to her. And you know what she was doing? She was smoking marijuana. You want to know why she was smoking marijuana? Because it's the same damn thing I just went through. She was actually going through chemotherapy. And this is the only thing that eased her pain at all in the world. The only thing that actually affected her and gave her relief from the chemotherapy, from the death sentence she was given, was the marijuana. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it. But the fact of the matter is, Hialeah to be viewed as this drug haven of marijuana pot smoking? No, it's not. It happens in Kendall. It happens in the Redlands. It happens in Coral Gables. It even happens in Key Biscayne, of all places. It happens all over the place. It's normal. But if we have an interpretation or an idea that this community is in a blow up of marijuana use, let me
Well-
tell you from my 240 guys' perspective, that is false.
Well, Mr. Johnson, I want to thank you for sharing your comment and your experiences, but I also want to reply to that. I live across the street from one of those parks, and individuals walking in that park, they were approached by the media and they themselves attested to having witnessing the use of marijuana, to having felt fear and insecurity. And I would like to remind that this was a conversation or emails back and forth between the city attorney and myself. And I had not brought this up here in this chamber at this council meeting. It was another council member that decided to bring it up. And when I was addressed in a manner which would be deemed disrespectful by most people, I replied, Since I was not believed, I took it upon myself to gather the opinions and the statements from members of the public. Now, when was the last time that you and your firefighters visited Timothy Artman Park?
I don't have an answer to that because I'd actually have to call
Yes,
240
you
people
just
to give an
affirmed-
answer.
You just said that
But
you go there
just-
every day.
Just for clarification, edification, to let you know, what I said today wasn't a front or an attack on you at all. In fact, as a public servant, you are elected to do just that, serve. And if the constituents want you to bring something up, then you bring it to a public forum, which you're doing now to do it. But what I take offense to is this is my city and this is my home. This is a place that I've sacrificed almost my life for. This is a place that I will sacrifice my life for. Anybody sitting out in this audience, not knowing their name or their families or anything about them. But when you attack my city with the allegations of this as kind of like a pot haven and everybody's smoking pot and all the in our parks, I'm telling you right now, it's false.
Well,
Because I don't sit on this dais with 7 of you. I don't. What I do is I work the streets and I serve people, and not just myself, but the cops and the city employees and everybody else here. And we have been doing this for a very, 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 very long time, long before you were interested in coming up here sitting on the dais. But I will not stand or sit in this audience and accept false statements such as that about this city. This is my home. My family has everything because of this city, and I will defend it. Those comments were false, and I stand by that.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
sir,
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
that.
Can we, let's,
50% of
ma'am, well, you're gonna go through the chair if you want to speak. If not, we're gonna move forward. Do you have something to say or no?
You want to censor me?
Do you have
Again?
something to say? Do we have any other public comments? Yes, sir, you're recognized. Come on. Name and address, please.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Luis Morales, 7764 West 16th Court.
I'm sorry, sir, repeat that again.
7764 West 16th Court.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm here to speak on PZ 5, the ordinance. So I am 110% in favor of this ordinance. I believe that this is something that's going to be beautiful for the city of Hialeah. I share my opinion, not just as a real estate and mortgage professional, but also a lifelong resident of Hialeah. I lived here since 1997, since we made it here from Cuba. And when I look at the surrounding cities, I see that this is a missing piece of the puzzle when it comes to the social evolution and how it is that, we interact as a city. Again, I would love to see this pull forward. And it's funny, when I was sharing this with my pops, he says, well, la ciudad que progresa y esto es por eso. So,
And this is, and Mr. Morales, this is what I don't get. I'm sorry.
PC 5.
PZ 5? Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Appreciate it.
guys. Bye.
All right. All right, do we have any other public comments? All right, let's move on to announcements of amendments, please.
The backup documentation to consent item D has been updated with the addition of a memorandum of understanding.
All righty, board appointments, 9A.
Proposed resolution appointing Douglas Cordovi to the Personnel Board of the City of Hialeah as the mayor's appointment for a term not exceeding 2 years and ending on December 9th, 2025.
All right. Any
Motion.
council discussion? We have a motion by the vice president. Second. We have a second by Zogby. Call the roll.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
All right, moving on to consent agenda. Does anyone have any items to pull?
Through the chair,
Yes, ma'am.
item J
J,
and item B,
who?
B as in boy.
B as in boy.
Thank you.
All right. Ma'am?
Item D, and I will also like to speak on item J.
I'm sorry, the first one was D?
Yes.
D and J. Okay, D and J. Do we have any other items to pull?
Motion.
We have a motion by the vice president, second by Rodriguez.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco.
Yes.
Motion carries. The consent agenda has passed except items B, D, and J.
All right, item B, please.
Proposed resolution designating West 45th Street between West Second Avenue and West First Avenue as Immaculate Conception Catholic School Way with the cost of signage to be paid by the city and providing for an effective date.
All right, Councilwoman Perez.
I just wanted to congratulate the administration for putting this forward. I think Immaculate Conception is one of those Catholic schools that has a lot of history in our community, and I'm happy to see this on the agenda. I know that we honored St. John's, so it's nice to honor our Catholic schools. Thank you, Mayor. Motion to approve this item.
Through the
Second.
chair.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to motion it too, but I want to say hello to Miss Rabina, Miss Roof from Immaculate. Hi, ladies. You've well earned it, your school. Bring Miss Leon our regards too. Thank you. Are you the principal now, Miss Roof? Okay, Miss Leon's still there, right? Okay, much love to all of you. Thank you. Yes, motion.
All right, so we had a motion by Perez and a second by Zogby, and I know the mayor has some words.
Yeah, just very quick. Since 1954, Immaculate Conception has been serving our community. You'd be amazed how many people you run into that will tell you that, you know, they have a linkage back to the city of Hialeah, and it all starts at Immaculate. And, you know, obviously it seems like I've been at that school now for 30 years, you know, very proud. And I look forward to the opportunity that we do the street unveiling with all the students in the actual street. So thank you all for the support but more importantly, to the work that they do at Immaculate Conception.
Thank you. Yep, Immaculate is a landmark in the city, and my wife is one of three girls, and they all went to Immaculate, and their mother, Ms. Valderrama, was a teacher at Immaculate as well. And when my girls get bigger, they're probably going to end up at Immaculate as well. So thank you all. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Tonidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
All righty. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Item D.
Proposed resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk as a testing witness on behalf of the city to execute an interlocal agreement with the Hialeah Housing Authority attached hereto as Exhibit A for the management of the city's affordable housing buildings, its units and garage, and further authorizing the mayor, his designee, and the city clerk as a testing witness on behalf of the city to execute any and all necessary documents in furtherance thereof upon approval of the mayor and that of the city attorney for legal sufficiency and providing for an effective date.
Councilwoman Pacheco.
Yes, well, I know there was a presentation that was done to each individual council member, but for the sake of the individuals that are watching this meeting through Zoom or that are here and would like more information, there have been some uncertainties or concerns in regards to if there are going to be any rent increases. And I just wanted to have an opportunity for those that are watching to know the answer to those questions, especially taking into consideration the 6% that's going to go towards the fees of managing these buildings. And I just wanted to make sure I have this question. I know that we discussed today that there will be no additional rent increases for those that are already living in the units. The rent would stay the same.
That is correct. Ruth Ruby, 501 Palm Avenue. The rent for legacy tenants will remain the same. So if you pay $150 or you pay $400, it's seamless to the tenant. The increase comes in the form of a voucher, Section 8 vouchers on basically empty units. And the tenant that actually comes into these units might even pay less than what a tenant that is there currently now. So
And,
the delta is what the worth of the voucher.
and what I understood it to be is that the city of Hialeah will slowly be phasing out its own affordable housing program, which will
So-
be replaced by the vouchers.
So the city of Hialeah will continue to have an affordable housing program. However, if a tenant applies for a voucher and is granted a voucher, the voucher pays the difference between the rent and what the landlord, us, would say the affordable rent would be, right? Which, as you know, and we discussed today, is well below what HUD is saying is the market rate.
And with these changes that will bring in additional revenues, you had mentioned that there will be additional services that will be able to be provided to residents, such as security and case management.
So today we provide security and we provide other life and safety is what we've prepared. with this change, the residents will see basically a robust service that they don't, the city cannot afford today, right? They will enjoy other services like transportation to and from grocery stores or the malls. Services that the city, because we subsidize part of the program, cannot afford.
All right, well, that's good news. It's reassuring to be able to tell us the residents. And I mean, I know one of the services or one of the amenities that many residents have been requesting is security. And as you know, you told me yourself, there was even on a property drug dealers, and that has caused major concerns. It's been reported to me as well, and I've received the messages. So is that something that all of the properties are going to have security?
They will have security in every property. They will have a robust program that the city has never had in these buildings. So it's a robust property management program.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Mr. Ponce. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to get a little bit more clarification on the waiting list. Maybe Julio, you can talk about this. How are we going to integrate the city? Do we have a city of Hialeah list with an HHA list, or how is that going to work?
Julio Ponce, 75 East Sixth Street, Director of the Housing Authority. Well, what's going to be great here is the marriage that we never had before. I obviously issue vouchers to the street, okay? That's a waiting list.
Right.
Then we have a public housing waiting list. We have an affordable housing, and we have a moderate housing waiting list. I'm at full capacity. Sometimes I have 0 vacant
Right.
units available. You have the city who has available units. Once we issue
Do we
vouchers
know exactly how many units are available right now?
with the city,
Yeah.
approximately 40.
40 units that are
Yes.
vacant currently.
So
Do we know how long they've been vacant?
no, that I don't manage the properties. Right.
Ruth, do you know?
I mean, we have between 25 and 35 turnover on a regular year. So they probably have been vacant in a few months. We can get you that information, but understand that turnover is constant. And so at any given time, we might have 25 vacant units. Also understand that when those units are vacant, we have to repair the units, and it takes time to repair them. It's not something, and for the housing authority, it'll be a lot faster to repair them and a lot faster turnaround time because they have the resources to do so. Whereas the city has never had the proper resources to turn over those units in a timely fashion.
Yeah, my understanding is there's many of these units that have been potentially up to a couple of years that have been vacant.
No,
No.
not a
According
couple
to the
years.
residents that live right next door to them.
I
So-
mean,
I think that would.
I think I can.
I'm asking.
You've always got a turnover. By attrition, you
People
always
die,
have. So
people move.
it's a catching up game. If you don't have the staff to get them done and ready, I could tell you, we just leased up 5 of them last week. So
When
we
you say-
sent
When you say 5, that's 5 City of Hialeah?
5 City of Hialeah because we issued vouchers. And the way we do the voucher system is when we issue a voucher, there is a system called Go Section 8. And every time we issue a voucher, we give that voucher holder addresses of properties that are available in the market.
Right.
So we issued, and there were 5 of them that went to those properties, like the properties, and they will be leased up by the end of the month. They've already accepted the unit. The paperwork is in the process of being done. So now having the city properties online, we think we will get them rented out a lot quicker because we have access to many lists. I can go to one of my affordable housing lists and say, if you want to stay with me, you'll be waiting 6 to 8 more months. But right now I have a unit available here.
Right.
And when they look at the condition of the units, they're going to love it compared to a lot of market out there that's because the city properties are in good locations and it's an elderly.
Have you been able to do an analysis on these 40 units?
Yes.
And determine how long it's going to take to get them online?
Yes.
And what-
Yeah,
what-
we've done all kinds of studies. We've done internal studies. The city hired a company to come in and give us a list of every unit, what's wrong with them, what's good with it, and all that. So all that, we're in the process of studying all this. So
So what do you foresee the turnaround time would be? under your watch?
But turnaround time to do what?
These 40 units to get them, people.
Oh, I should get them done in the next, I would tell you, month and a half to 2 months, because even though they're in conditions, once we get them, we have to look at the moving. For instance, I'll give you a perfect example. In the 5 units that we just rented out, 3 of them failed, but they failed for little things.
Right.
So maintenance came in, fixed them. We send the inspector out and it got passed. So one was missing a screen, the other one, the toilet was a little loose. So just little generic stuff. So all that is a process. So I would tell you within the next 60 days, we should have most of the units up and running. But at the same time, I want to be fair. I'm probably going to have another 5 to 10 online, because we're talking about 625 units. So you lose by attrition on a monthly basis, 4 or 5, 6. So while we're leasing up these, you're going to have, it'll probably take us a good 6 months to settle down on the attrition and move in to get the units ready,
Okay.
to get it to a keel that it's feasible. I mean, we have 2,200 units and we've got vacancies, but 15 days, 20 days, 30 days, and we've already got people lined up to go see the unit. We give them 2 shots at it. If you go, you don't like that for whatever reason, people are picky, they're getting, oh, no, I don't want it here. I want a 5th floor overseeing the ocean. Well, in Hialeah, we don't have oceans, but so you'll have that situation. Oh, no, too far away from my daughter. I need something on the west side. We go through all that, but again, we have a good pool of people going to see units and we'll get them leased up.
Julio, quick
How
question though on
quickly-
that. So
how quickly
one
are
second,
you-
one second, Julio. So
Can you let me finish this train
one
of
second,
thought?
when I'm done. These 600 units that you're going to be managing then that
Right.
belong to the city, is it, what program will you put them under? Is it going to be just purely Section 8? Is it going to be affordable? Is it going to be low income? What program would they be
Look,
eligible for?
I want to try to clarify, because I've heard a lot of different things. The program is affordable housing, period. That's what it is. How I get them rented, if a voucher's out there, we have a voucher in there. Voucher does not change the program.
Yeah.
A voucher is just a tenant with a voucher. Obviously, we would like to get vouchers because the city will generate more revenue. So it's the same thing. And if you really look at it, we're doing 55 and over. So that elderly person who has a check of $800 coming in is going to pay 240, give or take,
Right.
a month, and the housing will pay the rest to the city of what the rent is. So
I was asking back to what Calvo was saying. So these 40 units, however it is that you're going to designate them, would they go to a particular program or is
No.
it what? Okay.
we're going to have it in the
Okay.
market for rent. If I have somebody on my affordable housing list that's ready to move in, I'm going to send them over there. If they can afford to pay it, they'll pay it. If we issue vouchers and they go out searching and they like that unit, they're going to rent it. So we don't define a program by a building or nothing. It's just an affordable housing, just like you have it now. It's just depending on how the people that come in to rent it. Now we open up the horizon. The city has never accepted Section 8 vouchers. Now here we are, which we can get more revenue at a market rate.
Calvo, go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess the question that still hasn't been answered is there currently like a list of people that are potentially not on your list, but they're on our list?
There is no list.
So we don't have. a list
You
at
don't
all?
have a list.
So how do we fill in those vacancies?
Because it's always been, since I could remember 25 years, we've been managing the waiting list. So all we do is get a person.
Okay,
and
but
send it.
wait, I'm sorry, Louis, because you said something a little confusing. He's asking if there's a list, but you just mentioned there's a waiting list. So I think we need to just clarify, okay, somebody that has signed up for housing,
Mhm.
okay? And as soon as a unit becomes available, that person somehow or another moves up a list. Now, there may
Right.
not be a list in somebody's drawer, but there has to be some sort of pecking order, Ms. Fernandez, your unit now is ready for them to go and inspect the unit and then take the keys to the unit. And I think that's what he's asking. Is there, are folks that have signed up with the city of Hialeah, okay, have right of first refusal, for lack of a better term, to those units that you're talking about that are available. And how many of those folks that might have a right of first refusal?
Well, what we're doing now is we're accepting various lists, which is our list. And again, within my system, we have probably like 10 lists. Okay, if you
No,
want
I
to define.
understand. I just, what I'm trying to prevent is somebody that had been waiting, let's say for a city of Hialeah property specifically, that they get skipped over.
No, they won't. They won't.
How?
Again, who can go and rent a unit first? Because it's all about moving the list, and that's now you open up the horizon to other Section 8 vouchers, affordable housing, low moderate. So there's no one. We just need to get the units rented to whoever is available, the first one that can move in. So nobody's going to be left out. Nobody's going to be moved.
I understand that, and I have no doubt we'll be able to fill the units quickly, and I get that, and I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, for example, you always hear the constituent that reaches out, says, I've been waiting 5-6 years, you know, and they told me I'm number 30 something on the list or whatever. Are we in a position where, okay, well, number 1 through 40, whatever, hey, you guys are, you're imminent to moving in?
So
Or is now by doing this, could some people that have been waiting, for lack of a better word, they get screwed over and other people kind of jump the line because they're on a different list and a different.
So Councilman, to answer your question, the city and Hialeah Housing Authority have an MOU in which the Hialeah Housing Authority manages the city's waiting list.
Is this the MOU that we
Yes.
just got?
Yes, it was ratified in February. However, it's been in place for many, many years. The city has never had its own waiting list. It's always been managed by the Hialeah Housing Authority. So when Julio is basically saying no one's going to be skipped on that list, he means the list that he already manages,
Okay, yeah.
Right, so
That's
it's the
what I was
same-
asking before.
right?
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify that the city doesn't have a list. It's managed by the Hialeah Housing
HHA
Authority.
is the- Okay,
Correct.
okay, understood.
And just on your comment about I've been waiting X amount of years, and that's probably referring to our list. Public housing is a whole different list completely. The last time we opened up public housing was in 2008, 14 years ago. So whoever's on that list, 2 things are going to happen. They've been waiting for 14 years and they'll probably wait for another 20. It's reality. It's how that system works. Section 8 is much quicker.
Right.
Section 8 is every 3-4 years. I open it up. Right now, it's currently open. So I can inform all of you, we've had 25,000 applications in less than 48 hours. Okay, for 1,000 voucher lottery that we're doing.
Yeah.
So there's always a need. That program runs a lot
And
quicker.
So is there a third, you mentioned the Section 8, you mentioned the public housing, and there's an affordable.
There's
housing as well.
affordable housing and there's
What's the
moderate.
turnover there?
The same.
The same as. Section
Again,
8?
it's a waiting list, and as the units, see, there's a difference in the Section 8 compared to any other list, meaning public housing, I got 1,117 units, period.
Right.
So, I'm gonna say reality. Somebody has to die to be able to get a unit available.
Right.
Okay, in affordable housing, basically the same thing, a little bit different. People move out, want to buy a house or move on with their life. In Section 8, I issue a voucher and that person goes out and rents your unit, your unit, your unit. So it's a more broader,
Yeah.
there's a lot more movement in that list. So you'll have people calling and saying, hey, I've been waiting since, and I know someone who applied 3 years ago and is getting a voucher. It's just a different list.
Got it. And so we'll primarily, from what I understood before, we'll primarily be using the Section 8 for this. Okay.
That's what we're
That's the
hoping for.
city's gonna make.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Last question for you. And I had mentioned this previously when we brought this up. How are we gonna be able to incorporate and maybe this is not just for you, but the sort of like the political rules, right? So City of Hialeah has its own kind of framework, right? I think there's like a memo, and Hialeah Housing obviously operates under the federal guidelines. So how are we gonna bridge that? And maybe that, again, it's not a question for you, maybe it's for the city.
The agreement that you're reviewing now has a provision 10, rules and regulations. HHA will comply with all laws, codes, ordinances, rules, and regulations enacted by those governmental entities, whether federal, state, county, or municipal, having jurisdiction over the premises. The municipal is the City of Hialeah rules. And I I think the parties have cooperated in promulgation of rules in the past and would continue to do so. And they have to comply with them by contract and because they've been in business for, for a long time doing this.
Right. So for the city attorney, will we have to take any action, the council, to like rescind the existing rules for HHA, or will they just automatically expire once we enact this agreement?
I think once you enact this agreement, the rules that are in place will govern, and those rules might be modified from time to time. But they have in certain buildings that they manage, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because you know your operations much better than I do. I think you've already worked with some city rules in some of the city properties that you manage. So they've done that before in terms of gatherings and the nature of other things like that I know I've heard discussed. So I don't see how this will change that.
Right. So for my clarification, everything kind of just stays the same. There's no change. The policies that we have for our buildings will remain the policies we have. HHA is subject to follow those policies, and the policies HHA independently has in its properties, they will obviously continue to follow. Is that more or less?
I consider that to be an accurate statement, Councilman.
Okay.
And pretty much most of them mirror themselves. There's no soliciting. There's a lot of that you do.
Yeah, it's just because it's a little different.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be clear whether everybody is going to be like HHA rules will apply, or if they'll still be that kind of like.
Yeah, we'll implement.
Colleagues, I think, if I might, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, I think the important takeaways here is that, and we've talked about this before when we had an earlier discussion a couple of months ago, is that the city's going to get out of the business of managing these units. Allow HAA to take care of it, oversee it, even to the point of the punch out and the getting a unit ready. I've been in some of these units. For a long time, we didn't even have we weren't even able to go into a unit to do routine inspections only after the person had vacated for whatever reason. And then we saw nightmare situations that literally in some of these units would take months to get them ready. And I'm talking about red paint that had to be painted over and over and over to get it. So sometimes these things is not an exact science. The kitchen cabinets that were literally had to be taken out completely. All this stuff affects it. Ultimately, for the residents of the city of Hialeah that do not live in these buildings, a couple of key components. One is that, we wanted to make sure that the city does not continue to subsidize through tax dollars to keep these buildings in good financial posture, because it wasn't politically expedient in the past to raise rent on people. They would artificially suppress them, creating a long-term problem, including possible violations of HUD rules. So one of my only caveats in this whole discussion, when I sat down with the team and had this discussion, was, we want to make sure those that are in there that have been promised a rent, keep those.
Yeah.
But as new folks come in, they're still going to get a bargain basement price, but we need to adjust that so that you could create the proper reserves that are needed. And then, at the end of the day, man, we remove ourselves from this business that, each and every one of you have the ability to get a unit for someone when you don't, right? And I think it creates a certain amount of insulation, separation for us, and then allows us to continue to meet the needs, which we never would, which he just stated, 25,000 people, and that number will just continue to go up over the next couple of days, which shows you the ravenous need. There was a huge line at JFK, people trying to get access to computers. There's a real need in our community. And, we don't have a lot of tools to create the proper housing to meet that need. But here, I think would be in a more efficient way to manage these things.
Mayor, and it's important to also know that, again, we're offering 1,000 vouchers as part of this round, and it's day 2, and there's already been over 25,000 folks, and I think this is open till Monday.
Till Monday
of
midnight.
next week,
Yes.
right? So, and just to also know, Mr. Bonstead, you're part of the Affordable Housing Task Force as well. And there's a problem with today's market, right? Which is we can have all the vouchers in the world, but if the private sector doesn't participate, right, in this program, then what good are the vouchers?
Mhm.
Right? And so I think it's safe to say that we've seen in the market less and less private units participate in the program because the market's doing so well. So,
Definitely.
right.
It's the gap is, this year, the FMRs came out a little higher and it helped. But there's landlords that'll sit down and say, we're leaving money on the table. You pay 1,800 and whatever it is for a 1-bedroom, but we can rent it out for 2,200. So why should I? So we fall in that situation.
Right.
So again, these units will fill a gap that is very much in need.
So just end it on a high note. Now when the elevators break, we know who to call.
You know, I used to get those phone calls and I blamed him. Okay, so yeah, we know.
Well, otherwise motion.
So we have a motion
I
by
had
the
a
vice
motion.
president and we have a second by,
I had a motion.
you had the motion
had a
by
second.
okay, Perez and second by Calvo. Call the roll.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
All right, item J.
Proposed resolution opposing Amendment 3 of the Florida Constitution, adult personal use of marijuana, providing for transmittal and providing for an effective date.
Council Member Perez.
Thank you. So, I would like to elaborate on this resolution. I think it's something that we've been discussing with legal. We've discussed in the past, the mayor and I. It's no secret to anyone that's been following us here progressing in our role in the city that this is something that I've been working on since 2021. It started with our parks. It started with the ordinance that was passed that now has taken 1 year because I did not want the city to assume the cost on the signage. And I asked the state, the Florida State Department, to cover the cost of these signs, which has taken 1 year, which hopefully we will install in our parks by next month. And that's why I chose the words, with the help of our team, that I did not do this alone, the words tobacco-free and smoke-free, knowing that in the future, marijuana could be approved. Contingent to that, I wanted to make sure that that wording was included on this signage. And this was something that we can control because it's our city property, it's our parks, it's our recreational buildings, it's our city buildings. We cannot make a law, right, ahead of time because we don't know what's going to be preempted by the state of Florida. We don't know what's going to be within our range of what we can enforce. And I think there was a bit of confusion, and unfortunately, we weren't able to appropriately discuss this in the way that we should articulately discuss topics here on the dais. And I think everybody left a little bit confused, and I think even this has taken a bit of a spin that's really unfortunate for us and our residents and our youth. It's very sad that today we couldn't have the community coalition here because they work directly with the youth that is being impacted. And they return, they have grants that they're awarded, so they have to provide these data and surveys throughout the youth. And they've collected within the last couple of months about 800 surveys. And the number one problem that we see in the city, believe it or not, is alcohol in youth. Number 2 is tobacco and e-cigarettes. So we don't even have marijuana as one of the top substance abuse issues that our youth is being exposed to. This then took a little bit of a turn because we have looming over our shoulders what might be passed, which is today's resolution, Amendment 3. In November 5th. And this will now allow any adult that's 21 years of age or older for recreational purposes, for personal purposes, not for medical needs, to consume this. And we haven't even seen anything brought to the table for if someone's driving intoxicated to have a level of intoxication that the police officer could, prove that this person is being intoxicated through marijuana usage. There hasn't been a lot brought to the table, and they want to pass this without having a lot of options. And this is something that I believe many of us that sit here on the council already saw this coming when we pushed through a moratorium on opening any dispensaries here in the city. we didn't allow it. We have some sister cities like, I believe Miami Springs, Miami Gardens that have these dispensaries. This is not something that we have or allow within our city. Who knows now, if this were to pass in November, what would that would do to what already exists in our city? So I would like for all of us to work together and push through this resolution saying that we would like the Florida League of Cities, other mayors within our municipalities to join forces together and to oppose Amendment 3. This is something that I think is important, and I think it's important to distinguish the difference of what was brought to the table as an example of Miami Beach. And if I may, Madam Attorney, can I please have Barbara come up? I would like for her, she has major expertise in this. I believe Barbara worked almost 20 years at the state attorney's office. And she has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this area. I sat with her to know what's within our legal means and what we can enforce, because obviously I think everyone's intentions here is to protect our community, but we also have to do that with a foresight of understanding what is within our legal reach. Sometimes we speak and we want to do things and it's really not within our reach. And that's what I want some clarity today. If you can, I know that you have a wealth of experience and I only did a little sum of it, but if you could give us a little bit of your background, number one. And number two, I would like to see if maybe you can enlighten me and enlighten this council on the differences between Miami Beach and City of Hialeah, number one. And maybe give us some facts and some information on when this law was passed in Miami Beach. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was about 10 years ago that they passed this law. If we have any data on how many arrests was performed by the city of Miami Beach, according to that law that is now echoing within our city streets.
Name and address, ma'am, please.
Certainly. Yeah, through the chair. Barbara Gavea, Deputy City Attorney here in Hialeah. Prior to starting my service with the city in 2020, I was under Kathy Fernandez's leadership for 19 years as a prosecutor, as an assistant state attorney.
Can you lower the microphone a little bit? I'm sorry, just so we could hear your beautiful voice. Thank you.
Yes, certainly. While I was at the state attorney's office, I tried a number of cases, right? When you start as a prosecutor, you start in county court, dealing with those misdemeanor offenses. And throughout my career, I elevated in the office to then prosecute homicide cases. Now, one thing that occurred in 2019 was that hemp became legal in the state of Florida. And as a result, Ms. Rundo, in fact, gave a directive that the state attorney's office was not going to be prosecuting possession of marijuana offenses because of the fact that now the officers, when they're in fact, observing the person smoking the narcotics, they actually had to be able to articulate whether or not it was hemp or whether it was marijuana. And at the end of the day, you can't really articulate that, right? So then what would happen is that the narcotic that was seized from the officer, because remember, for a misdemeanor offense of possession of marijuana, the officer actually has to see the offense being committed in the officer's presence in order for that officer to then effectuate the arrest. So given the fact that the officer now cannot just testify in court as to whether or not it is in fact marijuana, then the narcotic would have to be submitted to the Miami-Dade Crime Lab in order to test what was seized to see what exactly that substance was. So obviously this involves a lot of costs for the county in regards to the testing that needed to be conducted. And also the equipment itself was very expensive. So Ms. Rondo, her directive of not going forward with the prosecution of those offenses and the county incurring the cost was because she wanted to focus on the more serious crimes occurring in our city. And we're talking about the rapes. We're talking about those child molestation cases. We're talking about the homicides, the shootings, cases where, for example, a female is unconscious, is sexually battered. She then goes to the rape treatment center. She undergoes certain examinations and what is collected is sent to the lab. That lab then needs to test, what was collected, and, do a serology test, a DNA test, and so forth, and gets those results. She wanted the lab to prioritize those type of cases. Why? Because the lab has a shortage, not enough manpower, and obviously they're completely backlogged. So that's why the state attorney's office moved away from prosecuting possession of marijuana offenses. Now, as a result, the beach then had instituted an ordinance, which obviously became, part of their code, where the officers now, if they see anybody, on the streets smoking hemp or smoking marijuana, the officers can then just make an arrest. Okay, and that arrest would actually result in either, a trip to TGK or Metro West, where the person would be booked and processed, or they would just be given a civil citation. What we've seen in many, many cities that have passed different types of ordinance having to do with, officers giving a citation in lieu of an arrest. That's all been because these municipalities have wanted to decriminalize the use of marijuana, because the officer now could just give them a citation and the person just pay a fine and it'll be the end all. Now, with the beach now instituting, this legislation, basically they've had to create what they've called like a mini state attorney's office, where they've actually hired 3 municipal prosecutors that have to go to court every single day to make sure these possession of marijuana ordinance violations are in fact, prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. So that has incurred to the city of Miami Beach on an annual basis a cost of over $500,000. So basically the state attorney's office is not prosecuting them. So the beach now has their own municipal prosecutors in order to handle these type of cases.
So
Now-
just to clarify, the people that are receiving the citations, it's not through like a code enforcement that we have. It would be through?
Well, in regards to what's happening in the beach, it
Right.
would be the officers that are issuing the citation pursuant to their code of
Correct.
ordinances.
Okay.
Right. Now, here in the city, just so you guys are all aware, we do in fact have an interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade County. And in that interlocal agreement, we specifically, our officers could specifically enforce what's within the Miami-Dade Code, which basically says that possession of marijuana is in fact an arrestable offense, and also an offense where the officer could give a citation. And there it would be the county that would be handling I wouldn't say the prosecution of the cases, but would actually be doing the hearings over in county to make sure that the right thing happens.
Got it. Thank you so much. And then, yes, go ahead.
I think it's important to understand. Barbara, the city of Miami Beach is not known for being a very conservative city. So I'm wondering why did they decide, other than what you've already stated,
Mhm.
what was at the root of the city? Why did they feel they needed to do something extra? If already what you're describing, I'm sure they might have already had an MOU with the county. I'm sure they don't.
didn't.
They didn't.
No, they
Interesting.
didn't.
So what is it that was going on in the beach that would force a city that normally sides on a more lenient liberal mind path, at least on maybe social issues? What forces them to get into this situation where they now need to feel that they got to be a little stronger?
The fact that they were seeing that within their city, there were tourists coming in, and those tourists were all involved in basically drug transactions. We're talking about the trafficking of narcotics. Where do people from the cartel come when they come to Florida? They go to Miami. It's the glamorous, place to be. They go to Miami Beach. That's exactly the city that they go to. So what they were seeing, Mayor, is basically just an influx in regards to, tourists going to these clubs, and there being a movement of narcotics within the club. There being a movement of the cartel bringing in a kilo of cocaine in order to sell it,
So
on the beach.
you're saying more of a drug trafficking issue than some kids smoking marijuana in the park or in some. Now, let me ask you,
That's correct.
how much of this also how much of this is kind of put together as far as their issues with spring break?
Well, they broke up with spring break. So I believe that's pretty much buried under the sun, right? Under the sand.
Right. Well, so was this, and again, just out of curiosity, was this something then brought forward then by law enforcement? Or this, because I want to, I need to reach out to the folks in Miami Beach because I find it's very, very interesting, this whole dynamic of the beach taking, of all the cities in Miami-Dade County, taking this action. It draws my curiosity.
No, we did in fact reach to Miami Beach. The municipal prosecutors that serve in the beach are former colleagues of mine at the state attorney's office. And I had an opportunity to speak to them at length about the program that they have there. And basically what was indicated to me, and even their chief of police made a public comment as to this effect, that only 9 citations had been given when the law was first passed in 2015.
Can you repeat that one more time?
That only 9 citations were in fact given when the law was first passed in 2015. So at the end of the day, I didn't get the numbers as to how many felony arrests were actually made based on the fact that their target was the sale of narcotics, in their city. But definitely, this isn't about your, 18 or 19-year-old smoking a joint on the pier in the beach.
Well, I think that's very enlightening. And someone that I respect said that Miami Beach is the Las Vegas of the South. So I thought that was very interesting that they mentioned it that way. And I think that also has a little bit to do with the dispensaries that they allow also in the city, with the tourists being there. And that's a way for them to control it, which obviously it's not very successful if they have less than 10 citations in about 10 years. So I think that for us moving forward, I would like to have your support on this resolution opposing Amendment 3. I ask that the city clerk sends a copy of this resolution to the Florida League of Cities, includes it to different municipal mayors within our county, to our county commissioners. And Mayor, I don't know if you would like to request to send it to anyone else with support of opposing the recreational personal use of marijuana. And I think moving forward, we had previously made this discussion, and I would like to bring something forth to the council contingent on our next meeting on what we've been discussing that might happen in November. And hopefully I have your support on that ordinance.
Well, I just to add, and first of all, I appreciate your efforts on this stuff. And I know this is something that you've worked on extensively. You've worked on not just the vaping issues, you've worked on these smoke shops and, distance from schools and all that. I know you care about this issue, and you care not just because, it's personal to you, but your family, your children, you're raising your children in an environment like I am. I'm scared to death of what my 13-year-old is going to be inheriting in these attitudes of more permissive behavior. This Amendment 3 has as much to do with politics statewide than it does anything else. And unfortunately, it's a motivator to draw people that perhaps have no common sense today, and then they'll regret it later on. And I don't know what kind of havoc this is going to bring. I know there's a lot of talk about the economic benefits. Well, sometimes there's economic benefits that then hurt us long-term, and, we may be playing with the devil's money on this thing. So I'm glad that you're bringing this forward. And I think we need to send a very, very clear message, that where we stand here in the city of Hialeah. And if it does pass, I think when we need to be then perhaps more aggressive, because now we're dealing with something that is legal in our state. But I applaud your efforts, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. And if I may call Exo Torres, please. Good evening, sir.
Jose Torres, Hialeah Police, 5555 East 8th Avenue.
Thank you, sir. I wanted to see if we have any relevant data. I know that, I've made some conversations, I've had some conversations with the chief and, with, Mr. Yanes as well. And I just want to see if you have any relevant information as it pertains to our city. And if this indeed is a crisis, if you could give us some insight.
Absolutely. After last city council meeting, where, see, just to give you an insight of what I do, I'm part of the command staff with the chief, and the daily operations of this agency, we take pride in it, and it's a priority. So to hear a representative from our city say that there were some issues at Publix at 12 and 6-8, I took offense to that. So I said, well, the men and women of the Hialeah Police Department are responding to this location. I took it upon myself, did an inquiry myself to see if there was any cause for service to the Hialeah Police Department, and I didn't find anything, unfortunately. Well, fortunately.
Right.
I myself, which is something that I didn't have to do, I went personally myself to the Publix, 12 and 6-8 on a daily basis, maybe 2 to 3 times a day, see if I can smell the marijuana that was being complained about. That again, that netted negative results. I went a step further and I met with the manager, Felix Martin, which another constituent mentioned as well, where there was other 3 more managers there as well. And I said, listen, I have a concern. I want to make sure that the men and women of the Hialeah Police Department are doing their job. And he confirmed, yes, you are. He says, I was offended when I heard about what was mentioned about my store. That affects us economically. The majority of our customers are elderly, and by a comment like that can hurt us. We definitely have a great relationship with the police department. And every time we call, you guys respond. There was, again, no calls, no complaints. The majority of the calls there were actually police officers doing patrol at that specific shopping plaza to make sure these things don't happen. So I took that a step further and I said, well, let me see the type of narcotic problems that we have in our city. So in 2022, we had a 235 arrests from narcotics. Again, this is all narcotics, fentanyl, meth, cocaine, so on and so forth. That same year, 16 arrests were as a result of marijuana. 2023, we had 278 arrests, and this is inclusive of all narcotics. 18 of those were marijuana. And now 2024, 84 arrests, and 4 of those were marijuana. You know, the most important thing is that I just want to make it clear, marijuana is obviously illegal, and the Hialeah Police Department, the men and women from our agency take action whenever they're confronted with it. And we're going to continue doing it. So it once again proved that the men and women from our department are doing their job. So, and again, just to add, we've done multiple town halls. We meet with constituents on a daily basis, phone calls, and I have yet to hear one person tell me that they have a problem at a park with marijuana, or a store for that matter. So I hope this clears and clarifies a bit of what the doubts are. And if there's anything else that I can, look up, I
Thank you
will.
so much for that data and that information. I think it really gives us a lot of insight. And thank you for following up with the store where I shop at as well.
Absolutely.
thank
We
you for
take
that.
pride, HPD,
I
honor,
know.
pride, determination. We take pride in our work from the chief down. We
Absolutely.
take
And I
pride in
thank
the
all
city.
our Hialeah Police Department for the effort and the work that you do in our community.
Thank you.
Really.
Mr. Torres, where do we hold these town halls at? What location?
Throughout the city, different parks.
In different parks?
Yes, different parks.
Got it. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Nice haircut.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank
All
you,
right.
sir.
I know, if you're done, are you done, ma'am? Because I know Councilwoman Pacheco had some
what-
words as well. Councilwoman, I know you wanted to speak on the item.
Yes, well, I know many of you may not be familiar with my professional background. I've been a nurse for almost 20 years, out of which 7 I worked specifically with patients suffering from a substance abuse disorder or mental health conditions. In 2019, I offered the city of Hialeah grants, not grants, I'm sorry, scholarships to provide services free of charge to residents that would need them, just because of the overwhelming number of people that approached our facility, inquiring about the services, about the requesting help. Many parents would seek help, especially for marijuana use. I want to tell you that the authority in anything that has to do with substance abuse is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health. It's SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Agency. And their most recent publication, it states that marijuana was the most commonly used illicit drug, which 52.5 million people used. This is the most recent data available as of January of this year. And as my background also includes being a college professor. I lectured on the importance of using reliable data, empirical data which can be measured. So one of the things that I made sure was that anything that I present or any proposal that I have, that there is always, evidence to back that up. Now, when I made this proposal, first of all, I did it in private, not private, it's emails, that's public information, but with the city attorney. And I raised a concern that was brought to me by the constituents. Now, the use of marijuana in the city, that is, for example, that's like the census that, a certain number of people are reported, but not everyone reports how many people live there. People don't self-report, I use marijuana. Parents don't go out and say, my children use marijuana, because that is a very sensitive topic and it's a cause for embarrassment for many families. Now, I firmly believe as a healthcare professional that putting your head in the sand is a disservice to the community. There is no bad intention behind any proposal that I make. So one of the things that are concerning is, and this was my intention from the beginning, with the possible and very likely legalization of recreational marijuana in November, there will be nothing that will prevent people from using marijuana in public places. Now, I want to read this. I gave each council member a copy of this. This is an example from Minnesota from last year, where it was legalized. Cannabis can be legally consumed on private property, including private homes. But it is still illegal to smoke or vape cannabis anywhere that tobacco smoking is prohibited, including most businesses, apartment buildings, and college campuses. But nothing in the state law prohibits smoking it on public sidewalks, but local ordinances might. Now, I want to further read. Some cities are already considering ordinances specifically prohibiting public marijuana use. And another article says, starting August 1st, Minnesotans can smoke marijuana in a park, on a sidewalk, or outside a restaurant or bar, unless their city passes or has an existing ordinance prohibiting it. So right now, let's say if marijuana were to be legalized, no one would be able to smoke marijuana where tobacco is prohibited, but everyone would be able to smoke marijuana where tobacco is allowed. Nothing would, let's say, someone's home. If this law passes right now, unless the city has an ordinance in place, nothing would prevent an individual from standing on the sidewalk in front of your driveway and smoking marijuana. And there would be nothing that could be done to stop it. So that's a preventive measure. And this is something that other cities have been discussing. Some have implemented these measures even before legalization, just to have some type of method of maintaining order. Now, in the last meeting, another council member brought it up. I would have liked to have formally placed this on the agenda for a civilized discussion. I think it has merit. It's important to the community. And just because sometimes, some of us may not see it, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Domestic violence, for example, how much domestic violence is there in Hialeah? Do we go out every day and see a husband beating the wife? No, that happens behind closed doors. Do we have the accurate and specific statistics? We don't have it. Only in cases where it's extreme and the police has been called. Doesn't mean that reflects accurately 100% or not even close, not even half of what really happens. Now, this is very much the same way, especially since this is a subject which causes embarrassment among many families, especially Hispanic families. This is something which I have extensively studied. I've become certified in this area. I have a background in this area. I have interacted with the families of affected youth in Hialeah. I have seen firsthand, and because of my professional background in dealing with substance abuse, there's many people that do approach me to ask for advice on how to handle a problem with their children, even in Hialeah High. I have my daughter used to attend that school, and I had a conversation with the principal, and he admitted that there was rampant use of marijuana even within the school, but there wasn't much that they could do to stop it because the problem had gotten out of control. It's very difficult to control that situation. Now, I would like to further evaluate and discuss, the possibility of adopting an ordinance that would protect the residents of Hialeah from being exposed to marijuana. I know that there have been talks about, well, if we put marijuana, it's illegal to use marijuana in a public place. We would have to put heroin, fentanyl, methamphetamines, but those other drugs do not present a nuisance such as marijuana. They don't affect the person standing a few feet away from them or 10 or 15 feet away from them. A person may be using heroin 10 feet away from you and you have no idea. But marijuana, you do breathe in the secondhand smoke. And there was a study conducted in 2019, which involved a number of police officers which volunteered, and they were attending, they were working at an event at an open air stadium. And out of 34% of the police officers did have detectable levels of THC in their system, not on a standard drug test, but it was detectable on a very sensitive test, meaning that we don't know exactly, how much exposure to secondhand marijuana smoke can harm a person or what effect it can have. But we should take every measure possible to protect individuals, to protect people with asthma, protect our children, and just anyone who does not want to have to go through that. I stand firm in the complaints I have received, what I have witnessed. And like I say, it's not intended. If bringing something to light is considered offensive, then I think, the way that we're looking at things is wrong, because we should come together to address the problems and find solutions and not be dismissive of them. That doesn't take us anywhere. We have to be willing and open to explore, what's happening. If someone reported this, why? Maybe, you spoke to someone that said no, but there's others that say yes. Mr. Eric Johnson said that he doesn't believe that this happens. Well, his opinion may be that he doesn't believe it happens. Let's say another 50% of the people of Hialeah will tell you the opposite. And that is something that we should respect and acknowledge, because by denying the problem, we're telling a majority of our population that we don't believe them, that their concerns are not important to us, and that we will not discuss it because essentially they are liars. The people from the public have spoken with the media, have spoken with the press, have come up to me, and they have shared these concerns. I have public messages on my social media from residents, even from Hialeah, city of Hialeah buildings that complain of people smoking in the marijuana in the parking lots. I have them there. I don't make this up. Those individuals can be contacted. Now, it's unfortunate. It's sad that this had to turn into there was so much turmoil surrounding this, when it could have been an excellent opportunity to come together as a community and address the problems in a very responsible way, in a very professional way, as public servants that we all are. Now, I hope that this can be the beginning of something productive for the citizens of Hialeah. I take the responsibilities that I've been entrusted with very seriously. I myself, I I'm appalled that, some colleagues may have seen it as, anything other than that, than a willingness to serve and address problems. But when someone comes to me with a complaint, I take it very seriously because I'm never going to think that a resident of Hialeah is calling me with a lie. They have no reason to do that. So I respect the city of Hialeah police. I have major respect for them, for the firefighters. And I do understand that you do not have knowledge of everything that happens. It's impossible for anyone to know everything that happens. All you can do is deal with a situation that is brought to you. And that's it. And I am, I'm very happy that, Councilwoman Perez was so gracious to, continue this, with this topic of the marijuana. I think it's important. And I'm happy that at least I was able to initiate this, this discussion here in the city of Hialeah.
Through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I want to make sure there's no misstatement of the law.
Yes, please.
In regards to the Amendment 3, I don't know if y'all had an opportunity to actually review the ballot question, but basically Amendment 3, what it's doing, what Amendment 3 is basically doing is legalizing recreational use of marijuana for any person over the age of 21, but with certain limits. And those limits being that that person could only possess 3 ounces of the flower or 5 grams of the concentrated. As it stands right now, we're talking about it being a criminal offense if you have 20 grams or less. And also in the ballot question, it specifically says that that individual, if in fact it's going to be used for recreational purposes, can only purchase it from an authorized dispensary. So this Amendment 3 does not in any way, shape, or form actually repeal our Florida statute, which specifically says that public smoking of marijuana is illegal. You just cannot, whether it's medicinal or whatever it is, you just cannot smoke in public marijuana. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
I just want to add
Yes,
that
sir.
this has been ably handled by all the speakers. So, but in the law right now with the medicinal marijuana that's allowed in Florida for certain patients of certain diseases, they are not allowed to consume in public that a prescription for marijuana.
Thank
Through the
you.
chair.
Yes, sir.
Absent any other motion, I would love to motion for the resolution as presented by Councilwoman Perez and the mayor. So I motion.
We have a motion by Zog. Do we have a second? We have a second by Rodriguez. Call the roll. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you, Mayor. All right, administrative items 11A.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending chapter 30 entitled Elected Officials of the Code of Ordinances, and in particular Article 2 entitled Public Meetings, to enact a new section 30-32 entitled Times and Dates of Regular City Council Meetings, to provide that all regular meetings of the City Council shall commence no earlier than 6 p.m. and be held on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
All right, this item is in second reading. Do we have any public comments in the chamber or online?
None online, sir.
None
Through the chair.
online? Okay, do we have any public comments in the chamber? You want to say a couple more words? I know you like to. Name and address, ma'am, please.
Millie Herrera, 4341 East 6th. And I think I already spoke
Mhm.
recommending that you hold one meeting every Tuesday, because then, look, it would almost been over. The conversations are usually not this long on the agenda items. The land use and zoning, sometimes people are tired. And I think you need to spend more time on land use and zoning, really do. But I'm going to tell you that even you might be late sometimes. But I think leaving it at 7 is a good idea, but holding once weekly. And when you do have special things that deal with the children, use My Lander, use Goodlet. What other parks have, Babcock has? And invite the the school, the community, whatever. Sports now is big. I just think, don't touch what isn't broken. But you do need more time. And I think dividing it, you just have to come once a week. But anyway, that's my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Herrera. Thank you so much. Do we have any council?
Yeah, through the chair.
Yes, sir.
So, guys, I apologize last week. Actually, the week before I wasn't here, so was a little bit confused. So I spoke to some residents, especially the time we've been leaving since the beginning. So I actually like to motion back to 5:30. I spoke to my job. They said, absolutely, Louis, if you need for public service, you're fine. And sometimes we've been getting out here very, very late.
Yeah.
So council, if you don't mind, I'm going to switch it up. I want to go back to the 5:30 because I think it's going to be a service for everybody.
All right, so we have an amendment by Councilman Luis Rodriguez. Do we have a second?
Second.
I say, if I may, through the chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I thank you for, getting some feedback on residents and that's basically the outpour that I received as well. I would say, and everything that we do, we have to evaluate it, right? Maybe we can revisit this next year, see how it goes, see if it was effective, see if we were able to be productive, hear the residents and see if we have any concerns, try it out for a year. Then we could revisit this next year and give it a shot. I think it's worth it to at least try it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we have
Through
a,
the chair, sorry,
Yeah.
look what time it is right now. It's 8:41 and we haven't even started.
Yeah.
So, see, that's it. So.
okay, so motion to amend to 5:30 by Councilman Luis Rodriguez, and we have a second by Zogby. All right, that's enough. That's enough, Ms. Herrera. Ms. Herrera, that's enough. We got it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We've been doing good so far. Please. Please. Okay, but why don't we calm down, please? All right, so can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes. Did we have a second?
Yeah, we did.
Ms.
It
Pacheco?
was a second, but.
No. I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't hear. Ms. Pacheco?
No.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Motion carries as approved, as amended, I'm
As
sorry.
amended with 5:30. As amended.
You
with
keep it up and I'm
5:30.
gonna have to escort you out, ma'am, please. Please, all right. Can you come down? Do you want to come? Do you want to stay or no? It's very simple, ma'am. Can you let us come? Hey, chief, if she keeps going, we need her escorted out, please. All right, so we have 11B.
First reading of proposed ordinance amending the Hialeah Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98 entitled Zoning, amending Section 98-1536, Purpose, Section 98-1539, Definitions, and Section 98-1541, Hialeah Transfer Station Subdistrict, regulating expansion parameters, defining activity arterial corridors, and setting geographic limits, promoting pedestrian activity, and providing for incorporation of mixed-use developments that result in improved natural surveillance, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
All right, this item is in first reading. Do we have any council discussion? We have a motion by Councilman Zogby. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by the Vice President. Call the roll.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Pat,
Through the chair. Through the chair.
Hey,
Through
Chief,
the chair. Through the
Chief,
chair.
Chief, can we escort her out, please? Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead. Oh.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco? No.
She's taking it. Go ahead, call the roll.
So I have Garcia Robes with a yes, Pacheco with a no, Ms. Perez? She is away. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
All right, item 11C.
First reading of proposed ordinance repealing and rescinding Hialeah ordinance number 2018-027, adopted on April 16th, 2018, granting a variance permit to allow the redevelopment of the property, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, this item's in first reading. Any council discussion?
Motion.
Through the chair.
Yeah, Mr. Cobble.
Yeah, can we get an explanation why we're doing this?
So this is an application that came.
Name and address, please, for the record.
Sorry, there were storage planning and zoning official, 501 Palm Avenue. This is an item that came before the city council in
2018.
in 28. And they proffered that they were going to redevelop the property with 145 units, 5 stories. They signed a declaration of restrictions. There was a time frame, and well, time passed. No development happened there. They never got the site plan approved, and they got the entitlement. So we are now rescinding this because the project that was proffered never happened.
When did it expire?
It expired, well, they had to, in the declaration of restrictions, here it says, a complete site plan and concurrency review shall be submitted within 12 months of April 10, 2018.
So it expired in 2019, but we're
Yes.
coming back 5 years later.
Exactly.
Why?
Because we never did this, and we're realizing that there are many properties that have been entitled and then nothing happens. So we are trying to see which are the ones. We have one, the next item is another one, so I think it's the
So
right
right now
thing
they
to
have
do.
entitlement to 145 units, 5-story apartment building.
Yes,
While when we rescind this, they'll go back to M1 industrial.
exactly. And the special use permit to expand the MBD, it goes up.
Right.
So wait.
But why would we want more industrial in the city? Like, wouldn't it be more appealing, let's say, to someone that came and was looking at the property, that it already has certain, thresholds here of 145
Well,
units?
that person can come again with their proposal that probably is not this one, is another one, and come and go through the same through the same process. And also, we don't want speculation. We don't want people to come and get the entitlements, and then what happens? Land gets more expensive, and then it's changed to another person, and then it's the land that is going up in price, and no one can
Right.
build because it becomes so expensive that it's impossible.
So are we doing this review with every property that we've given entitlements to, or?
We are
why
doing,
did we single
we
out?
are doing with many of the MBD properties that we are seeing that their timeframes expired.
So we'll be seeing more of these in essence.
Yeah, you will be seeing more. There is the next item is another one, and
Right.
you will be seeing more. Yeah.
Okay, understood. All right, thank you.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion.
We have a motion by Vice President.
Second.
We have a second by Rodriguez. Call the roll.
Ms. Pacheco?
Yes.
Ms. Perez is away. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
Item 11D.
First reading of proposed ordinance repealing and rescinding Hialeah ordinance number 2017-096, adopted on December 18th, 2017, granting a special use permit and zone and rezoning from M1 industrial to allow the expansion of the neighborhood business district, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Do you have any council discussions? What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion.
We have a motion by the Vice President. We have a second by Zogby. Call the roll.
Ms. Perez is away. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco?
No.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
All right. Any unfinished business? Any new business?
Yes, through the
Yes, ma'am.
chair, please. All right, since we're going to be right now voting on an important item that's coming here before the council, I want to take the opportunity to discuss some measures that are being taken in other cities to increase the supply of affordable housing. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware of the numerous eviction that there have been in the three biggest developments here in Hialeah, Shoma Village, Manor Homes, and the other one is Pura Vida. I want to share, I have a graph here that you can look at the information. This is data obtained from Miami-Dade County Clerk Reports. All right, so basically, when analyzing these numbers, if you look at the graph, you'll see the number of evictions is disproportionate to those that take place in similar developments of similar price in neighboring cities. If you look at 6600 Main in Miami Lakes with 361 apartments priced between 2,400 and 4,300. They only had 2 evictions, whereas Shoma Village, Hialeah, with 304 apartments, had 56 evictions, even though they were in similar price range. Now, why am I stating this? I believe that it's important that we talk about it. We talk about the affordable housing crisis. We talk about gentrification, which is something that's happening. It's happening here in the city of Hialeah. Now, I know that, there's the argument that the cost of these new apartments do not raise the costs, the rental prices of surrounding properties, but the evidence demonstrates the contrary. There was the Atlanta Beltline was a transit-oriented development that resulted in an increase in housing values, making housing more unaffordable. From 2011 through 2015, values rose between 17.9% and 26.6% more for homes within a half mile of the Beltline than elsewhere. So this evidence clearly demonstrates that the high density development boom does in fact increase the cost of housing in surrounding areas. Now, I was looking at New Rochelle, New York, and they have an ordinance that mandates that all projects provide 10% of residential square footage for residents at 80% of the area median income, ensuring the inclusion of affordable housing. Right now in New Rochelle, 10% of the units are actually being rented for about half of the market price. Where the cost of the rent is $4,000, the units are being rented at around $2,500, which it has increased the supply of available affordable housing. I think that there are, initiatives that we can take. There are actions that we can take, that we can implement as a city. Of course, this would require further discussion, further analysis. But another thing I noticed was that in order to address the housing crisis, many of these communities, municipalities, they brought together a committee, but involving the stakeholders, people from the community, not just the developers, which are the experts, but when we have, the people that are already involved in the business of construction, they're not really bringing any new ideas or perspectives to the table. It's important that we include the stakeholders, those that are being affected, that can contribute ideas and share their concerns and also their insight with us. I would like, if possible, at some point to explore the possibility of looking into what other cities that have successfully increased the supply of affordable housing, what they have done, and see if we can somehow incorporate, their model here in Hialeah. And, basically that's just what I wanted to discuss. Yeah, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. The evidence is here. Math doesn't lie.
Yeah. So, Councilman Pacheco, thank you for bringing this up, and I want to have a normal conversation, right? I think you do bring stuff to the table, and I want to have that discussion with, you, right? So a couple things just to kind of note on that you mentioned. So with regards to affordable housing, we have, as you know, we have the Affordable Housing Task Force, right, for the city of Hialeah right now. That's separate from our Hialeah Housing Authority, right? And so the idea, the goal with this task force is to be able to develop affordable or workforce housing options in collaboration with the private sector, right? Because in Hialeah, how I mentioned, we have HHA, and HHA at this moment is probably the leading authority in all of Miami-Dade County when it comes to servicing members for affordable, right, and low-income housing. We service more than 11,000 members, and that's something that we should all be proud of. And so we lead when it comes to that, right? Miami-Dade County, and they're great, and Alex Baina does a great job, the director there, which he also serves on our task force as well. But you ask him, and a lot of his buildings are not even up to par as to Hialeah Housing Authority's buildings. So that's something, again, to be very proud of. Now, in this, and I did want to go ahead and bring at some point, hopefully right before we recess, I'd like to bring at least a blueprint of what it is that we've been working on to discuss with you all, right? Because at the end of the day, this body, this task force is a recommending body, and they're gonna give it to the mayor so he can review it. And then this council is going to be able to review it as well and make certain recommendations as well. But I don't want to waste time. And by the time we're done with the task force and come here and then we want to make changes. So I want to be able to bring you guys a blueprint or the progress of every single meeting. So that's going to come before we recess, God willing. And again, the idea is to do that. Miami-Dade County, for example, has an affordable housing program where the county would provide, just an example, double density, right, for a parcel of land that resides within unincorporated Dade, right? And in return, when they give that developer double density and whatever, parking variances, whatever the case is, I'm just giving you a simple example. In return, they provide a percentage of affordable or workforce housing rents, and that's determined by the AMI, right? So whether we decide that the average median income in Hialeah, which the need here is between 60 to 80% of AMI, right? We can negotiate with the developer and let him know, hey, we'll give you this, but 20% of your units need to be X, right? And so those are the types of ideas that we're looking at. However, we're noticing, and at some point I was a little discouraged because everyone kept telling me, Tundidor, affordable housing isn't going to work if we don't have subsidies, right? Bottom line. Miami Beach just did a groundbreaking. I don't know if you guys read about it. I think it's 100-something units. And that was in collaboration with the Housing Authority of Miami Beach and with an affordable housing developer that is actually in our task force as well, Ken Naylor. And I think the project was about, Julio, maybe it was 80 million, right? And about 75 million, 60 million, or between 60 to 75 million dollars came from state subsidies, right? So we're very, very cognizant of that, you know, and I think, and what I have to push back to developers, let them know that the city is not going to provide subsidies, right? If you work out a deal with Hialeah Housing, that's a separate story. But us as a city, we don't want to be in the housing business, right? So what we could do, because we want to take it a step further, is develop a framework, right? Some sort of blueprint at the lower level here, at the local level, that folks like, whether it's Atlantic Pacific, whether it's urban related, any of these folks that come in, take over that framework and then get the subsidies elsewhere, right? That is the most that we can do. Zoning has also provided additional options at the lower level for the smaller developer, right? It's a prototype. And so again, we'll be more than happy to bring that, but you are right. And I'm glad you brought this up because we need to keep this council informed. And that is my goal. Before recess, I plan to have some sort of summary with the menu of options that we've been discussing to see what direction this council wants to head.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Chair.
Councilwoman. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just to add a small little tidbit,
Mhm.
and I mentioned this last year, Live Local really screwed over cities like Hialeah.
Yes, sir.
Because it shackled us. It shackled us in the sense that if a developer wants to, they don't have to go through us, and they could just develop the property and do whatever they want. And you know, there's certain criteria that they could do at affordable housing, or they might not do it affordable housing, just depending on how the project looks. So I think you know, what this council needs to realize is we have to work with developers that are willing to work with us, because they could very easily circumvent us and they can go and just build a project on their own. And so if we have developers that are willing to work with us, we need to work with them and understand that this is obviously a push and pull on both sides. We all want, you know, this community to have the housing that it requires. And, you know, that's the best we can do at this point. And, you know, we have the task force that will also give its recommendations. But at the end of the day, I mean, the state preempted a lot of our powers in the space. And so, you know, we need to understand that we're limited. We're limited in what we can do.
And Councilman Cabo did, and just to echo again, at the end of the day, this can't be done without the private sector.
Correct.
Governments don't do public housing anymore, right? We're not in the business of that. So we have to work with the private sector to get these types of things done. Now, and then just one last point, because I know an article had come out regarding the evictions, and I had a long conversation as well with a reporter that's in the building. And you know, the price of the value of land, right, is something that we've seen increase throughout the country, right? And that's hands down. There's no arguing that. I think the one thing that we can say is that the only thing they aren't making any more of is land, right? And so whatever we do have today is very, very expensive. Now, new development comes at a high cost, right? You're paying a premium for the land, the cost of construction, property insurance, and all those costs are passed down to the consumer, right? That's just how math works. Now, we have to be cognizant, and the councilwoman is correct. Whenever there's a new development occurring, whether it's in the city of Miami, Doral, or Hialeah, that cost of rent for that particular rent or that building is going to be high. And what does that do? It also lifts the market. Now, it's also very important to note that and again, I know that the Herald had chosen specific how can I say this, properties, right? And you know, they chose two or three from Hialeah and really didn't give us a comparison of how other municipalities are doing with regards to evictions. And that's right. And we could deal with that later. But bottom line is this: I think if we get into the business of worrying about folks that can't afford rent, then City Hialeah turns into something else. Okay. If you can't afford something, in my opinion, then you shouldn't buy it. And it's plain and simple. I'm a big believer that folks, individuals, need to have some sort of financial responsibility, skin in the game. Now, if you fall ill or if something happens to you, I do believe that government needs to act as a safety net. But that's why we do have grant programs, right, that provide rental assistance, right? And again, it's not permanent, because I don't believe that type of help should be permanent, but we do offer that type of assistance to help you get back on your feet and move forward. But again, I did see these numbers. I would like to see what other numbers look like in downtown, in Doral, or other parts of Miami-Dade County. But that's what I wanted to say about that.
So,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
through the chair,
The mic, sir.
through the chair, just gonna make a comment. Right now, the rent, an efficiency, an apartment in Hialeah, individual owner, they're asking for 3 months rent. First month security, like $10,000 to rent. Number one, a lot of these developers, you can, with a good credit or a decent credit, you're giving one deposit a month and a security deposit. I've seen situations like that's actually beneficial for the city of Hialeah. Number two, I've also, as unfortunately, I've been to 2 cases here in the court system as a witness that squatters came in, they lived 4 months in Viejitos' house, and they didn't want to leave. I mean, I lived that. So there's 2 different cases. I mean, rent's out of control for a certain, the market demands the rent, right? And we left all of us and our parents left, communist countries. So I believe, like you said, Jesus, if you can't afford it, you can't live there. Simple as that. I mean, my belief is, yes, if we have public land and we do agreement with the developer, yes, we can control rent. But if not, the market will situate the demand. And more apartments that we have, the more choices, right? So I'm with you, Jesus, and I think this is something that markets got to decide where we're going to be at. That's my opinion.
I just it's important to understand this, because I had the conversation with the reporter, although I wasn't quoted as part of the story, but the transition of what's going on in Hialeah, the investment, the amount of folks that are coming in to invest. I think many of us, maybe privately, publicly, would question, how's it going to work? Is it going to work? The market has to find its level. If government inserts itself, it could only mess it up. It has to find its level. When I see raw numbers like this and say, well, there's been, 56 evictions at one property, I'd also be curious to see what people were putting in applications to rent a unit. Was there some sort of incentive for somebody to rent, just get them out, rent them. And I worked in the rental business for a while, and this is a slippery slope, because sales agents sometimes need to meet quotas and try to get somebody in a building and try to get somebody qualified. And then if you lie on an application, you find yourself in a situation, right? But I do believe the market has to find itself. That's why the task force that you've put together to try to examine these things. And I've said on many, many occasions, you are limited in your menu of what you'd like to do if you don't have any ask being made of you. If there's an ask that's being made of you, a substantial ask, then you could negotiate, and one of the things that I look forward to seeing from the task force is, where can we help as far as limiting or expediting permitting and what have you, that has a real cost perhaps to a developer in exchange for extracting some units that we could use to help in this space, right? But I've said it often. Nothing has indicated to me something different. Hialeah is going to have to go vertical. Plain and simple, unless we invade neighboring cities, which they're not going to like it. I think we've tried that. Yeah. Unless you continue an annexation process, which is already limited. This is a countywide problem. You have a hard line in the sand called the UDB, and that forces infill projects. And every infill project will bring somebody here that will be upset because they don't want it in their neighborhood. And this is, so, we could pay lip service to it, but we have to understand the dynamics of what's at play in a market that right now is being, it's in a vortex, basically, okay? You've got a lot of folks coming in to invest from the north of our country. You have people coming in continuously from the southern ends of the world, and all that converges here, and it skews the market big time. And that's why we've seen the increases in rents. But by the way, because I spent last week talking about these issues in Washington, D.C., if you own a home, you've been hit with an insurance increase. If you've been hit with an insurance increase, an apartment complex owner has also been hit with that insurance increase. And 10 times out of 10, the tenant is going to pay the freight for that. These are issues that go beyond the capacity of what a city could possibly do. You can't do rent control, so don't entertain it, and don't it just isn't, it's not going to make any sense. Heck, I'm sounding like Biden right now. I say don't. But the reality is that if you don't work with developers, and if you don't create some sort of pathway that you could have some synergy, you're going to be at the mercy of what's going on in the community. And you're right. We should see where are all the other numbers. It's always beautiful. Let's go and just trash the city of Hialeah for whatever they may try to do. And it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
If I may, through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
It was interesting enough, though, because to piggyback on when you said, Mayor, that same week on the news, they came out and said that Century Village in Broward, which is, I believe, a 55 and older community, or 65 and older. No, I'm just speaking to you, that community, they raised their HOA
So I think they raised it by $200 or $300. They were paying over $1,000 in HOA in that community in Broward. That's really a hop and skip and a jump away from here from Hialeah. And that's an older community. And so again, it goes back to the insurance, and many of those homes now are on the market for sale because they're not gonna be able to afford it. If you may, Mayor, if you could just stick around a little bit more. I know that we're almost done with your part of the agenda, but I believe we're moving on to unfinished business.
Well, we're in new business right now.
Oh, we're already, because I just came back from the restroom.
Yeah, we're in new business.
Okay, if I may, through the chair.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So as I was trying to discuss when we had brought up the resolution, and I'm so happy that we were all in support of that. One of the points that I wanted to discuss, that we had made mention of it in our prior meeting, was diving into the ordinance which we had unpacked and passed June of 2023. And I would like to, with the permission of the council, motion to see about maybe amending it, working with legal, working with PD, and coming up with some wording added to that ordinance in contingent to what may occur now in November. With your permission, if I could have
So legal,
that brought back to the
City
table.
Attorney, you get that? You get that motion?
Desire to amend the ordinance to encompass some of the concerns that were expressed here this evening, the existing ordinance, and like with any legislation, we will work with the sponsor primarily, and then it'll come to this body.
Got it. So we have a motion by Perez. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Rodriguez. Call the roll, please. Oh, no,
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo? Mr. Calvo is away. Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Any other new business? All right, thank you all. Heading over to the land use.
Councilwoman Perez, if I may please record your vote for administrative item 11B
Yes.
and your vote for 11C
Yes.
and your vote for 11D.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should we recess for 25 minutes or no? Okay, all right. You want to do the oath?
Yes. Will all those persons who will be testifying on an item, please stand and raise your right hand.
Las personas que quisieran prestar sus opiniones delante de esta junta, por favor, pónganse de pie y alcen la mano derecha.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God, if so say I do.
¿Usted jura o afirma que el testimonio que va a dar será la verdad, toda la verdad y únicamente la verdad y que Dios sea su testigo? Por favor, diga que sí si la respuesta es afirmativa.
Let the record reflect that all have responded in the affirmative.
En el archivo público constará que todos han respondido afirmativamente.
Thank you. Okay, LU1.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending the future land use map from low-density residential to medium-density residential. Property located at 4935 East 8th Avenue, zoned R2, 1 and 2 family residential district, and legally described herein. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
I just want to say, I think this item belongs to Mima. And it was Mima's birthday the other day. No, come on. How old did she turn?
Good evening, Council President and Council. Mima turned 93 last meeting.
93. Can we give a round of applause to Mima, por favor, please? 93 years old. All right. This item is in second reading. Do we have any public comments in the chamber or online?
None online, sir.
All right. Do we have any council discussion? What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion.
We have a motion by Rodriguez and second by the Vice President.
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
All right, congratulations. LU2.
First reading of proposed ordinance amending the future land use map from low-density residential to transit-oriented development district. Property located at 951 East 28th Street and 2881 East 9th Avenue, Hialeah, zoned R1, 1 family district, and legally described herein. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
All right, this item is it's in first reading. No public comments. Do we have any council discussion on this item?
Motion.
We have a motion by Zogby,
Second.
we have a second by Vice President. Please call the roll.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
Thank you. PZ one.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-181, to allow a K through second grade elementary school with a maximum capacity of 20 students in conjunction with a 21 children daycare. Property located at 1570 West 43rd Place, Suites 15 through 18, Hialeah Zone C2 Liberal Retail Commercial District, and legally described herein. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
So that was the second reading. Do we have any council discussion?
Motion.
Do we have any public comment?
None
In the
online,
chamber,
sir.
Online, none? All right, we have a
Second.
motion by Perez and the second by the Vice President.
It was backward.
All right. Motion by Vice President, second by Perez.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
All right, PZ two.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-181, to allow a prescribed pediatric extended care with a maximum of 4 patients and 2 staff members. Property located at 1022 East 8th Avenue and legally described herein, Hialeah Zone C2 Liberal Retail Commercial District. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, do we have any public comments? Second reading? Anything in the chamber? Anything online?
None online, sir.
Motion.
We have a motion by the Vice President,
Second.
second by Zogby. Call the roll.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Mr. Calvo.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
PZ three.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance granting a special use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-161, to allow the expansion of the neighborhood business district overlay, granting a variance permit to allow 18 units to have an area of 747 square feet and 6 units to have an area of 616 square feet, where 850 square feet is the minimum area required. Allow 65 parking spaces where 84 parking spaces are required. Allow front setback of 5 feet where 10 feet built to line are required. Granting a variance to waive the building mass and building frontage development standards in contrast to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, sections 98-1630.2, 98-1630.3, subsection E1, and 98-2189, subsection 16A. Properties located at 308, 330, 342 East 9th Street, Hialeah Zone CR Commercial Residential District, and legally described herein. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
All right, this item is on second reading. Any public comments online or in the
No, sir.
chamber? All right, do we have a motion
Motion.
with the conditions? Okay, we have a motion
Second.
from the Vice President and a second by Carl Zogby.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes. Sorry.
Mr. Tumidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
All right, PZ four is postponed until May 14th. Moving on to PZ five.
First reading of proposed ordinance granting a special use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-161, to allow the expansion of the neighborhood business district overlay in relation to a proposed mixed-use development, including 815 residential units and approximately 32,624 square feet of commercial space. Granting a variance permit to allow the waiving of the building mass requirements, allow 10 feet front and street side setbacks where 22 feet and 34 feet are required for the middle and penthouse levels, and allow 1,559 parking spaces where 2,006 parking spaces are required. In contrast to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, sections 98-1630.3 subsection C, 98-1630.3 subsection E1, and 98-2189 subsection 16B. Property located at 1625 West 49th Street, Hialeah Zone C2, Liberal Retail Commercial District, and legally described herein. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
To the chair.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I had the great honor and privilege of being able to meet with Mr. Codina and meet with the folks on this project. I think currently it's an eyesore. I think you would agree. We need more units. We need more units in the city of Hialeah. And more than that, we need units in that space. I'm the council member that lives the closest to that area. I live 3 or 4 blocks away. And, we need the highest and best use. And that is, creating a true area that has the potential to at some point become an entertainment core. We've seen what has been able to happen in Doral with some of these Doral city centers and City Place, downtown Doral for sure. So that's the kind of Hialeah that we want. Certainly that's the kind of a future that a mall that, as we know, malls around this country are failing due to all the stuff with Amazon, all the online purchases. We need to start looking at what is considerably the largest swath of land continuous in the city of Hialeah, which is Westland Mall, and create a true development that we can be proud of, that generations from now can look back and say, wow, that's really a hallmark of the city of Hialeah. So I'm extremely excited about this project. And like I said, we have to work with the developers. That's what we're doing here. So totally in favor, and I motion otherwise.
Through the
Thank you.
chair.
Yes, sir.
Of course.
I agree 100% with Councilman Calvo. We deserve this in Hialeah. It's about time, and I trust Mr. Colleen. I've known him for 30 years, and I trust that he'll deliver what he promises. So I second that motion.
All right. So, 1 second. All right,
Yes,
so, yeah, so that was great. Thank you, guys. This is, Westland Mall is a landmark, for Hialeah, right? I think a lot of us grew up there, back then, and so it's such an important piece of land that, I think we only get one shot at it, right? And so, we want to make sure that, it's done right, and I can't put anybody in front of your team who's going to be working on this to do a better job than you. But however, we'd like to learn a little more about it. So do you have a presentation for us? And name and address, sir, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Joe Jimenez, offices 2020 Salcedo Street in Coral Gables. Joined by Mr. Armando Godina, Executive Chairman of Godina Partners. Also from Godina is Alex Arellano, the Vice President of Residential Development, Lee Casey, the Vice President of Marketing. From MSA Architects, the designers of the project, the architects of record. We have Jose Samuel and Annette McSwain, who's leading MSA's involvement in the project. Out of a respect for your time, all I want to do is thank staff for their very, very good work and contributions to this project. Thank the members of the Planning and Zoning Board for a unanimous recommendation of approval. Out of respect for your time, we've prepared a short video because we do think there's a very important project that the residents of Hialeah and you deserve to see. Mr. Godina can address any questions better than I ever could, so he will follow that video. But absolutely, we did come prepared to give you the information.
Thank you.
So
Can we get that volume up?
City that demonstrated throughout the years its commitment to farms. Unity of your heart that the continental U.S. farewell from Hialeah, and it's been host to numerous well-known figures throughout history, such as Winston Churchill, President Harry Truman, the Kennedy family, J.P. Morgan, and numerous others. The city survived the Great Depression and experienced a surge in development after World War II, becoming home to a significant population of veterans, thanks in large part to the GI Bill, and its significance with holy growth. As the communist revolution took hold in Cuba, Hialeah became home to a large and grateful expatriate Cuban population. They brought with them their desire for good life, their drive, their gifts, and their talents to help this corner of the country become what they could no longer do for their own. With Hialeah's growth and a motivated and hardworking population, business and industry came, causing it to become a central hub for commerce, thus attracting more investment and more development to create a vibrant and thriving city. As with all major areas, once the population grew dense enough, the need for a place where residents and visitors alike could shop, dine, and enjoy community experiences naturally developed. And in 1971, alongside the standalone Burbank department store, which is now home to Macy's, Westland Mall opened with 2 additional anchor tenants, JCPenney and Sears. The mall performed exactly as intended. It became the central hub for the community at a time when the city was experiencing yet another golden era. One that many of our council members here today recall fondly from their childhood days. Through the years, the mall has weathered time in strength. In varying phases of popularity, it was sold several times over the decades, both in 2007 and 2012. The mall continued to experience steady foot traffic and stable performance, and then a seismic shift began to occur. Just before the COVID-19 pandemic began in March of 2020, one of the mall's decades-old tenants, in enthralled of bankruptcy, closed its Westland Mall location, leaving it vacant until the building, which was connected to the mall, could be liquidated. This, of course, was the site where Sears, one of the nation's most renowned department stores, stood for nearly half a century. As the pandemic drew on, in 2022, it was sold to Sunshine, a Dallas-based investment firm whose portfolio primarily consists of retail establishments, shopping centers, and malls. Centennial saw the vision for Westland and quickly began making investments to update the interior of the mall and enhance the overall visitor experience, modernizing it for the modern consumer. To date, they have been successful, but one challenge has remained: how to revitalize the dormant east section of the mall once energized by Sears. Although the challenge may be simple, with malls there are so many stakeholders involved that achieving the necessary consent to make any change is incredibly difficult and often an exercise in futility. For this reason, the site sat vacant for so long, waiting for the right time and the right party to come along and help achieve consensus. Understanding the times we find ourselves in and the opportunities to enhance Hialeah's most iconic destination, Covina Partners and Centennial have partnered together to help Westland Mall undergo a transformation into a new golden era. One in which it will become a strong central core to rival its neighbors to the south, such as Alcatraz, making it a center of gravity that pays homage to its unique heritage and one that is worthy of its presence. We call this vision and remarkable transformation of the former Sears site, Westland Mall. To be undertaken by Covina Partners and Centennial, this ambitious project will be transformative, not only for Westland Mall, but for the city of Hialeah as a whole, allowing it to experience the same growth as its neighbors downtown Doral and Coral Gables to the south. It would consist of redeveloping the 15-acre parcel that was once made up of the Sears department store and surface parking into 3 separate lifestyle buildings that offer connections to shopping. The design, in keeping with the spirit the city of Hialeah was founded upon, will demonstrate progress with modern elements and incorporating the very latest in urban and residential spatial design. In total, 800 residential units ranging from 1 to 3 bedroom apartments and 15 townhomes for lease will be added. In addition to the residential, on the ground level, we'll have retail and restaurants that will add to what Westland Mall currently offers. But there will be what we consider to be the most important aspect of the project, which is the 1.5-acre plaza that can be home to community events where the community can gather and experience things such as Christmas festivals, harvest markets, music festivals, and a wide array of cultural activities. To support Hialeah's evolving transportation and energy needs, our plan is to incorporate superchargers into the site that are available to the public. We plan on partnering with one of the absolute leaders in the industry to create the supercharger network and offer it to the community. As many of you know, Freebie in many locations utilizes Tesla vehicles. This expands their range, but by having a supercharger network right here at Westland Mall, it will allow this to be a wonderful base of operations from which people can take freebie rides to and from the area. So one of the best aspects of having supercharger stations right here on site is that residents and visitors alike will be able to pass the time by enjoying the amenities within the mall, which actually brings more business for the locals to do. All of this will culminate in this northern section of Westland Mall transforming into a new place where a new generation can come and enjoy experiences that the generations before did in this iconic yet reimagined landmark within the city of Hialeah. It will bring Hialeah a venue that is able to offer an elevated experience for shopping, dining, and experiences, making it so that residents of Hialeah no longer have to leave the city in order to enjoy those options. So for the residents, community, businesses, and visitors alike, we're confident that this will usher in a new era of progress for the city of Hialeah. And we ask that you allow us to write this next chapter for you, Westland Mall.
Yes,
And-
sir.
And with that, Mr. Codina will give you additional information on the presentation. And as always, we're here to answer any questions once he's finished.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your patience.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Name and address, please.
Armando Codina, 50 Casuarina Concourse, Coral Gables. And I appreciate your time, and I met with each and every one of you. Some of you were a little bit challenging but you know that I was persistent, insisted in meeting with all of you, and I have a lot more to say, but to respect time, I'm gonna just tell you that I have here with us today the mall owner. So these malls are so complicated to revive because it's not one owner, there are many owners. Sears owns their parcel and they went bankruptcy. JCPenney owned their parcel, Macy owned their parcel. And any one of them can veto that no matter even you approve the project, you cannot move forward without. So it's taken many, many months on designing and meeting and going back and forth. So I'd like to ask the mall owner, Steve Levin, to come up here and just say one word. And I'll wrap it up.
Thank you, Armando. Stephen, excuse me. I've been a long travel day. Stephen Levin from Dallas, Texas. And I'm very happy to be here and happy to be able to stand in front of you and appreciate the opportunity to say a few words. And thank you to Armando for allowing me to do that. What I want to say is that we had the opportunity, we are a Dallas-based company and have projects, about 35 projects nationally that are enclosed malls and open air malls. And we had the opportunity 2.5 years ago to acquire Westland Mall. And when I came to Hialeah and saw this culture-rich, fabulous, energetic, vibrant community, it was a place I knew we needed to be a part of because we are community-based. That's what allows these projects to be successful, is to be the fabric of the community. And we acquired the project. As the video said, the Sears parcel is the challenge with this project, as with many malls across the country, most of them. And fast forward, I met Mr. Codina and his daughter at downtown Doral and knew immediately that he was the right partner for us to deliver to the community of Hialeah what you've seen and what he will do and what will allow the mall to become the place it was for everyone, the place you remember it to be in today's time. And so very excited about it. Very honored to be able to be part of this project with Mr. Codina. And thank you very much for the opportunity to say a few words.
Mr. Levin, just a quick question for you. Thank you for making your way down here to Hialeah, and we appreciate you being here.
Sure.
So you own what, about 35 of these malls, more or less, you said?
We own about 20. We own and operate 35 projects.
Got it.
About 17 enclosed projects like Westland across the country, and then similar projects, but are open air projects, not enclosed.
And so you've done these deals before, mixing the retail with the residential?
It's what we do on every single project. I
Okay.
mean, this is the recipe for how to take a mall for the next 25, 30, 40 years. They don't survive as a shopping destination solely. They have to be infused with the mixed use component, and residential is the key. We're doing it across the country, and it's the key component that infuses the elements back into these projects that really transform them.
And so what can we do in your experience? What can we do? What type of errors can we avoid to ensure success?
I think you've done it. If Mr. Codina is allowed, there's no one better. There's nobody better. There's no one that will deliver to this community. The key in this, the answer to your question is making sure you have the right partners with the city that own the mall, that have a commitment to the community, because it's much easier to do these wrong than it is to do them right. And a lot of them are being done and they're not being done correctly. And in this case, what you're doing right is we're both lucky that Mr. Codina has taken on the project, because for us, that's the right way to do it. And that's really the key to this is the right people that care about it, that work with the community, that will deliver what you want and what will be successful.
Can we be better than downtown Doral?
I'm not answering that question at all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Through the chair. He won't let me back into the city.
Councilman, you're right.
Mr. Levin, you just reminded me, and it's terrifying. It's kind of entertaining to look at it, but terrifying, because that could be us. That could have been us. It ain't going to be us now. I know that. That series, Abandoned, where people go into abandoned malls all around the country that at one time were these spectacular structures, and they're abandoned with nobody has a dream, nobody has the vision, they're not in the right place, and they just sit abandoned, and they're terrifying to look at. And this one, we're lucky. I think we're lucky on this one, and we appreciate that this is not going to turn into that.
No, it will be spectacular. It will
I
be,
believe it.
it will be spectacular. You've got my commitment, and you've got Mr. Codina.
Thank you.
So there are more malls that are going to close in the nation that are going to remain open. So many have closed, and there's no way you can fix it. In every major city, there's going to be one or two what they call fortress mall that will survive. Aventura is going to survive. Dayland is going to survive. A lot of the others, and I think this mall would have disappeared. And we are dealing with, I bought the Sears site. I don't know what the future is of JCPenney's or Macy's. I hope they thrive. I hope they do well. I want to mention one item that you brought up, Mr. President, Live Local. So on the Live Local, we could have done over twice as many units as what we're building. We didn't think that was right for Hialeah. I didn't think it was right for the project, and it certainly wasn't right for me, because to build over twice as many units without input from the city, with little or no input from the city, I think is wrong. And the first stop that we made was with your staff. Joe, thank your staff. They've been wonderful. So this has been a collaborative effort. We didn't come in here and say, how many units can we throw in here? We have, the one thing that I will point out to you that was not on the video, we have 1.5 acres in the middle of this property. So to begin with, if I had gone live local, I couldn't put the units in unless I packed them in here. There wouldn't be this plaza, which when we get through finalizing how we're going to do it, to bring entertainment, to bring events to the malls, here's in meeting many of you, I remember meeting with Councilman Rodriguez, walked me through his nostalgia, his love for this mall where he used to go there. So my goal is to turn this into one of a kind, not Doral, but a place with a Hialeah flavor. And I want this to be a place where the younger generation and the next generation do not need to leave Hialeah to go to a great restaurant and get entertainment. And so it was kind of a simple goal for us. So you got 1.5 acres that we're going to be programming. When I walked this mall, I met a group of, I shouldn't say older because they may be younger than me, but playing dominoes on the food court. So we're going to build a domino hall in our project overlooking, and we're going to turn that over to them or to Hialeah. So they will have a great place with amenities to play dominoes. We talked about the chargers. We're going to do an app where Hialeah residents, if they register, they would have priority on reservations, they would have discounts. So this is going to be a Hialeah, the place that had nothing to envy downtown Doral.
And Mr.
Downtown Doral is 230 acres.
Mhm.
So it's a whole different ballgame. So I appreciate all of your time. And
Mr. Go- And if you don't mind, so just because you said some very important things there that I think we need to just state one more time that the video didn't capture appropriately, but you mentioned the plaza. Can you just talk about, is the plaza going to be private use? Is it going to be public use?
It's a public venue.
Perfect.
We may close it at midnight or 1 o'clock.
Sure.
So to respect the residents, because the residential is all around it, but this is a public venue. So it would be completely open.
So if I live in Mango Hill and I go to the mall and I want to maybe during the day pass by the plaza, I can pass by the plaza.
You can pass by the plaza, you can enjoy the plaza and not spend any money, although we hope you do spend some money.
That's right. Yeah.
So yes, it's a plaza that would be open.
Remind me, streets are going to be closed or they're going to be open?
The streets are all open.
And they're all open, perfect.
And we're respecting the existing arteries, because if we had moved it, we would have to get consent from all of those same people that I was
That's right.
mentioning to you. So this has been a months of labor. I think we want to create a place that you will all be proud of.
Armando, and then maybe now is not the time, you probably don't have all the details, but the app, I know the app that you're mentioning, I'm familiar with it because I've seen it in downtown Doral. When I'm down there having lunch with friends, I've seen some of my colleagues pull out their phone, they show the app and they get a discount, whether it's at the restaurant or whatever the case is. It's going to be a similar concept.
Similar, but something special for Hialeah.
Perfect.
And
that's great.
And if they register, we will verify that they live in Hialeah.
Of course.
And I want to mention one last thing to you on these Live Locals. One of the most objective, one of the worst part of components of Live Local is that they preempt the cities. And I think no good can come out of a project that doesn't respect your zoning department and doesn't respect coming up here and doing it the way we're doing it.
That's right. Armando, just on that, I got two more things, but on Live Local, I'm glad you brought that up. And Live Local is a bad deal for cities, right? And how my colleagues have expressed as well, but it's also real bad because not only does it freeze up ad valorem, right? But it also doesn't do what it was intended to do in Hialeah.
Right.
Right? Workforce at that AMI doesn't do anything here. So appreciate you working with the city to make sure that we find something good. So, and then the last thing, Armando, a traffic study. Was that completed?
Traffic is an issue in Hialeah.
Right.
At the height of the Sears, peak hour traffic is a lot higher than
That's
after
right.
they, and what we're bringing is live, work, play.
Mm-hmm.
So we have found in Doral, so in downtown Doral, we reduce peak hour traffic because we demolish 27. By the time we're done, there's 4 left, 31. So at peak hour traffic, that was a government park, 9 o'clock in the morning, traffic was.
That's
So
right.
downtown Doral is the only project that I know of that reduced peak
Right.
hour traffic. I don't know how you could do a better balance than what we're doing, and that's
Right.
how we went about it.
Yeah.
Not what is the most we can put in here, but how do we balance?
Yeah.
How do we balance it?
That
But
logic
traffic
makes sense,
traffic is
right?
an issue. We're working with a freebie. We're doing the chargers to create.
That's right.
So we're gonna do everything that we can, so we don't create a bigger problem then.
Armando, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Do
you.
my
Through the
colleagues
chair.
have any questions, any other comments?
Yes.
Go ahead, Pam.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Codina because you demonstrated that you value the input, the opinions of every single council member, not just presenting your idea, but also listening to what each one of us had to say and what we thought of it. I certainly think you're a visionary. The project is beautiful. I love it. I love it very much for myself this as well. This is something I think we all want for our families to be able to have a place that our children, that even us, that we can go and spend a nice evening. I had mixed feelings about this project. You know, part of it, the part that makes me feel a little bit, that made me a little sad is knowing that, you know, a lot of these housing units I know will be out of reach for our residents just because it's such a beautiful project. But, you know, taking into consideration, you know, the circumstances, the current state of the mall,
Mhm.
you know, I've come to the conclusion that it's probably the best thing that we can have. And, you know, if you're an amazing person with an amazing vision, and I think we'll be in good hands.
Thank you. By the way, Mr. Carr, who's sitting there, so we've done, this is not our first project in Hialeah. With Mr. Carr, we did Bonterra. I don't know, you saw
Right.
and we also did both on the Beacon Logistic Park was a construction debris landfill.
Yeah.
And if you have visited, you see what it is. So we appreciate Hialeah. And I appreciate the time you gave me. Dade County has 2 biggest problems. Dade County are income inequality and housing. That can be solved in this corner. This is your main and main. This is your Fifth Avenue. If Miami Beach is Las Vegas, to me, Hialeah is the Brooklyn of Miami, where all of Manhattan wants to move to, and a place where, and I own a business in Brooklyn, so, and I bought it when Brooklyn was at its worst time, so I'm a believer.
So are we. Thank you, Mr. Godina.
If I may, through
Appreciate
the
it.
chair.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think one of the reasons why this project touches our heart so much is because we all grew up there, right? And that's why it's difficult. What I'm sure Councilwoman Pacheco is saying is that area, like I learned how to drive in that parking lot. You know, many of my friends learned how to drive in that big empty parking lot. We visited the mall, we would have slices of pizza. We would go to the WB store during Warner Brothers when that was in and purchase our things there. So it's hard to see change, but we have to adjust our mindset. We have to understand that this is going to be for the betterment of our community, and we want to be competitive like other cities. And I think that this council has elevated the city with the help of people like you that have shown interest, that work with us, that take the time to sit with us at the table and discuss our concerns. I am so happy to see that you're going to have the charging stations there. As
I think that's really important, considering that many people that are here that have those Tesla vehicles have to drive to Doral. And we don't have that amenity here in the city. So thank you for considering that. And I love the idea also of the domino tables and considering that aspect of our community, keeping that rich culture. I'm very excited to see what this will turn into. I know one of the concerns that I had was that exit to the mall. And I know that we had discussed that isn't part of the property that you own. That's not part of that exit strategy. And I think that that's something that we would have to still kind of talk over, see that traffic study, if perhaps we have that maybe in another reading, and we could evaluate some of those locations where the mall goers and maybe the residents may want to jump onto the 826. I think I'm interested in still seeing how we solve that, if we may, Mr. Colina. And thank you to you and your team for putting this presentation together. I really loved that video. I think it was fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes.
Armando, corre, antes que te cojan aquí. Thank you all.
So we
Please,
have a
please call the roll.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Tunidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
Thank you.
you.
Congratulations. Thank you all.
Yes.
Okay, PZ6.
First reading of proposed ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-181, to allow a K-1 grade elementary school with a maximum capacity of 24 students in conjunction with a 72 children daycare. Granting a variance permit to allow 35 parking spaces where 42 parking spaces are required. In contrast to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-2189, subsection 9, property located at 2863 West Second Avenue, Hialeah, zoned C2 Liberal Retail Commercial District and legally described herein. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
All right, first reading. Any council discussion on this item? Do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion by
Second.
Zobby. We have a second by the Vice President. Call the roll.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Tunidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
PZ7.
First reading of proposed ordinance rezoning property from R1 One Family District to TOD Transit Oriented Development District. Property located at 951 East 28th Street and 2881 East 9th Avenue. Hialeah zoned R1 One Family District and legally described herein. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
All right, this item is in first reading. Do we have any council discussion?
Motion.
We have a motion by the VP and a second by Zogby.
Mr. Tunidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. PZ8.
First reading of proposed ordinance rezoning property from R2 1 and 2 Family Residential District to P Parking. Property located at 1171 West 69th Place, Hialeah, zoned R2 1 and 2 Family Residential District and legally described herein.
All right, is that-
Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
all right, this item is in first reading. Do you have any council discussion? Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by the Vice President. We have a second. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Zogby.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez is away. Mr. Tunidor.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
All right, PZ9.
First reading of proposed ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-181, to allow a K-8 grade school with a maximum capacity of 97 students. Granting a variance permit to allow an interior west side setback of 9.5 feet where 10 feet are required, and allow 20 parking spaces where 26 parking spaces are required. In contrast to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, sections 98-1606 subsection F3 and section 98-2189 subsection 9, property located at 1179 West 69th Place and 1174 West 70th Place, Hialeah zoned R33, multiple family district, and legally described herein, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mitri, name and address, please.
Caesar Mestre and offices at 8105 Northwest 155th Street, Miami Lakes, Florida.
Caesar, just real quick, what's there now?
A school,
It's a school right now.
a daycare, and
Okay.
a school without a CUP
Okay, so it's been a daycare for how long, Mahoma, more or less?
since 1989.
1989, that was a great year. You want to say something?
We have been discussing this case for 2 years, more or less, because they had the two buildings and they have all the parking backing out into the street, so there was an approval unless they had a solution for the parking. So they bought the property next door. That was the last item that you approved for
The
P.
parking, yeah.
And this is now the parking for the school, and they are eliminating all the unsafe conditions of the back out parking.
Okay. All right, thank you. Do you have any council discussion?
Motion.
We have a motion by the Vice President.
Second.
We have a second by Zogby. Call the roll.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robis.
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez is still away. Mr. Tonidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
PZ 10.
First reading of proposed ordinance granting a variance permit to allow a height of 60 feet where 45 feet is the maximum height allowed, and allow 60% lot coverage where 45% is the maximum lot coverage allowed. In contrast to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-880 and 98-879, subsection B, property located at 111 East Okeechobee Road, Hialeah Zone CR Commercial Residential District, and legally described herein. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
All righty. Name and address, sir.
Manny Dress Architect with offices at 18501 Pines Boulevard, Suite 342, Pembroke Pines, Florida.
Manny, just high level cliff notes. What's going on here?
Basically, very challenging, small project. On the second page, we show you a picture of what it is now, and what's going to get demoed. There will be a beautiful enhancement for this corridor of Okeechobee Road. Basically, it's presently zone CR Commercial Residential District. It's a 4-story building, and it has a ground floor parking and lobby and elevator and stairs, etc. And then second floor will be the owner's office and attorney, Vanessa Paz. And then third and fourth floor will be beautiful 2-bedroom units, approximately about 1,100 square feet each.
Okay.
We're requesting some variances, and the height basically because of the stairs that goes up to the roof. And no variance for parking. We're providing the adequate parking, and we feel very strong about this project, and it was pardon the expression, one hell of a challenge.
Yeah. Oh, so you're not asking for any parking variances?
No.
Oh, that's great. Okay. All right. Thank you, Manny. Any council motion? Motion by Zogby, second by Vice President.
Ms. Garcia Robis.
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez is away. Mr. Tonidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you. PZ 11.
First reading of proposed ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-181, to allow a K through 5th grade elementary school within a shopping plaza with a maximum capacity of 112 students in conjunction with an 81 children daycare, and granting a variance permit to allow 409 parking spaces where 418 parking spaces are required, In contrast to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, Section 98-2189, subsection 9, property located at 4056 through 4058 West 12th Avenue, Hialeah, Zone C2, Liberal Retail Commercial District, and legally described herein. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
All righty. Any council discussion on this?
If I may, through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Caesar, can you walk me through some of the things or some of the difficulty that we've encountered with this one, just to make sure that I visited this location plenty of times, and I know that it's really a wonderful location to have here in the city. So I would like to support them and see what they're asking for, please.
Caesar Mestre, offices at 8105 Northwest 155th Street, Miami Lakes, Florida. We have a small presentation. This is the Chico's shopping plaza. And this school, which has been there since at least 2003, again, Days Care, which added schools, grades as time went on, is located in the next slide. There you go. The slide and the next slide will show you that it's located on the northwest corner of the shopping center. You guys are too young. Zabi may remember, there was a movie theater there. Apollo Theater is the space that
It used to cost
occupy.
$1, right?
What's that?
It used to be $1.
It used to be a dog?
The dollar theater?
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
It was. They had
at one
special
point.
nights.
Yeah,
used
it
to
really
pay
was.
$1.
They have a large area. They have a combined, I think it's 11,000 square feet. The K through 5 is going to occupy 2,683 square feet. The daycare occupies 4,242. So it's a big place. They offer a great education. Next slide will show you the aerial. You see where the red dot is where the school is. So it kind of opens up like a pie. The front in the shopping center is just a very small area, which is where they have their office now. They have been using the rear of the shopping center as the main entrance and exit, but someone paved the swale area on that area, and that's where the pickup and the drop off was. But there's concerns, and they're not going to be using that area anymore as pickup and drop off. After meeting with staff, we've agreed that we're going to relocate the pickup and drop off to the front. We're going to use the parking lot where the parents are going to park, walk the children to the school, and then leave. The teachers are going to park in the back area. There's about 25 parking spaces in the rear. That's where they're going to be using that. One of the conditions that is on the recommendations from staff, and we talk about it today, was that the school owner was going to be responsible for reestablishing the swale area to the way it was originally. We're changing that to say that the owner of the school will communicate the need for that to the shopping center owner. So it won't be a burden on her because she's not the one that did that. So I'm sure there will be some code enforcement citations issued or whatever needs to be done. This is pictures of the actual classrooms, as you can see in the next couple of slides. This is the area. The next slide is the actual front of the school. That will be the main entrance now. The next slides show the west side of the shopping center. This is the area where the parking is not supposed to be. And then the other slides just show you the front where the parking lot is. As I said.
If I
this-
may, though, through the chair.
Yeah.
What's the rational reason that we don't want them to use their original entrance and exit, which I personally would prefer because I've been there.
Let me explain you. Across the street, everything is residential. So that soil area that was there with the palm trees that was there until recently, and after, if you go to Google, you will see the evolution, from one day to the other, someone came, paved it, and all the operations started to be from the back. That is supposed to be a buffer between the residential and the commercial. So that area should be returned to be green, to do there what is supposed to do, to have the vegetation and to be also part of drainage. And then the other side, that can perfectly be well used for the pickup and drop for the parking of the parents. The recommendations that we do are based on the plans that we received. The plans that we received showed that that area was going to be reestablished as it should. So that's why we put that burden into the property owner, because when a plan is sent, that something is proffered. So before the meeting, we spoke with the streets director. He agrees that that asphalted area does not belong there. So we're going to communicate with code enforcement. Code enforcement is going to put a citation into the owner, and he will need to reestablish that green buffer that was there. Having a back out parking into the street, all the parents coming through it is also an unsafe condition.
And on the side of the school, they also have another, and
It's not a proposal that they present. We don't design the proposal. They hire an engineer, they come with a proposal. The best outcome that we could find with what we got is, okay, you park in the shopping center in the morning, in the afternoon, you pick up your kid, and then you come out there. If they have another proposal, they can present it, but
Yeah.
that's what was presented to us.
so as it stands, I mean, I understand that maybe there needs to be a little bit more greenery, maybe for drainage or whatever purpose is back there. I agree with that.
And that is
But-
right of way, it's not their property. That is
Right.
right of way, so it cannot be exclusive for
For
them. If something is done there, it's not just putting back the grass. If they want to have parking there, they will have to improve that with curb, gutters, and also to put the parallel parking. And I don't think they want to do that, and I don't know if the owner wants to do it.
Okay,
So the best solution and the easier solution is to put everything as it was and then pick up and drop off the children from the front.
to put the burden on the property owner.
Yes.
Yeah, and once we take out the swale area, we don't think the pickup and drop off is feasible on that 12th lane or court, because then we would be using the street. And my experience with staff is that pickup and drop off can't be done on a public street.
Right.
Same thing for the north side of the shopping center. So that's why we couldn't use the back, so we moved to the front to use the parking lot.
Okay. I mean, the way that they have it, I think works well with their location. I've been there during a dismissal time because I toured the school just to see what kind of books they were using and what kind of educational material they were using. I was interested in seeing how that school functioned in comparison to a public school, and I think they are fantastic. And they offer like a really small scale classroom. And then the dismissal is at staggered times because they have like an
Usually the
aftercare.
dismissal is
So-
easier, but the drop off is not, is complicated.
It's more complicated. Could we maybe then do the drop off through one side and the pickup through the other side?
That's on them to make a proposal.
Okay. And well, I don't know, I just don't know how much that's going to now fall on them on making those changes. I don't know if the landlord is now gonna make them pay for those changes. And I think that's the concern.
The owner of the property is responsible for the maintenance of the swale area. So code enforcement will take care of citing them, and they will have to do what they have to do. If not, they will come to the special master, but it's their
So
responsibility.
it's his
to
responsibility. He
Put
can't
everything back.
put the burden on her.
Yes.
Okay.
I think in order for him to put the burden on the tenant, he would have to have some proof that they were the ones that made those improvements, which
They didn't,
don't exist.
right?
So
So he has to assume the responsibility of
he's the
fixing it,
property owner.
of how he had
Correct.
originally had intended that property to
And
be.
also having that area with asphalt and having the residences across the street, that gives room for people to come and to leave their trucks at night and for other things that are not desirable next to a residential neighborhood.
Right. So we're gonna have signs that say no parking and all of that added to that swale. For the people that live there don't
Yeah.
park there and now ruin the grass that's gonna be installed.
Well, there are palm trees there, so it has obstacles already.
Yeah, but it has not that many though. All right. Anything else you were gonna add to that?
No, just, we have a, recommendation from staff, for approval with conditions. We're just asking to change the condition that said that we would be responsible to reestablish the swell area,
To the
to
property.
change, correct. And we have a, recommendation of approval from your planning and zoning board, so we will respectfully ask for a vote of approval today.
All right.
Okay,
Motion.
we have a motion by Councilman Zogby.
Second.
We have a second by the Vice
And
President.
you need to clarify, either you're going to pass it as presented, or if you want to clarify it with his request, just.
What's the pleasure of the board?
With his request to add the responsibility on the property owner.
Correct.
More than that is to remove the responsibility of the tenant to take care of that.
Correct.
Right.
So does the property owner know this, or when is he gonna find out?
We're going to work with him. We're going to start first calling him as we did with some other properties. We will explain him the situation, and if he doesn't want to do what needs to be done, then we'll go to court.
They'll have to sign a DOR. So the DOR will have to be joined by the owner. So the owner will also be bound by those restrictions. We'll have Caesar get an opinion of title, and the opinion of title will say that he has to join in the declaration. So if the owner doesn't want to join in the declaration, then the declaration wouldn't be valid. So the only way the declaration could be valid is if the owner agrees to the conditions set forth in the declaration, because the declaration follows the land and the property, not the business itself. So the conditions would be set forth to the property. So the property owner always has to agree.
Right.
Right, and then that's correct, that requires a signature by the party to be charged, which is the owner, but and even then, to hold them responsible, you just have to go through, they have to be cited for a violation, and then you go through that process, which the city can do through code enforcement, but you have to take those steps.
All right, so we have a motion to approve with the DOR and the conditions stated by Mr. Metri.
To the
Right,
landlord.
Which is removing the burden from the tenant.
Yes, but also that the declaration will include the property owner
Yeah,
joining in that. you
And
know,
every single
that-
one, yes.
Right, okay, that's another requirement in, right?
Yes.
So, okay,
Yeah, for the DOR to be valid,
right,
I have to do an opinion of title, and
right,
the owner always has to
Right.
join.
yes.
And if there's
yeah.
a mortgage, the mortgage company has to.
If there's a
join as
mortgagee,
well.
the mortgagee has to consent
Yeah.
and have a joinder.
So Caesar, do you think we're gonna be able to get this squared away by the next meeting?
If not, you might want to continue it for until the meeting after.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
So we'll take it, and then I guess at the next meeting, we'll
Yeah.
see if that's completed.
The
or
only,
not.
the only reason you see me hesitating is I know I have to order a report, a title search report, and it usually takes about a week and a half.
Okay,
And I normally do it right after
yeah,
P and Z, so it's in transition right now.
okay,
So
got it.
if we
I mean,
have to, we may have to move it to the next.
If you're uncertain, do you just want it to be the meeting after the next one?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right,
That's
so can you announce that date,
Yes, sir.
Right.
please, if you don't mind?
Let's leave it on because there's an extra week.
Okay,
because
so
of the way
we'll
that-
leave it. If it's not
right,
complete, we'll table
Right,
it.
so we actually have
Yeah.
3 weeks, so that
Okay.
should be enough time.
Got it. All right, and so we have the motion by Zogby, and then we have the second by the Vice President.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robles.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
All right, thank you. I think you wanted to get Councilman Rodriguez's vote.
Councilmember Rodriguez, your vote on item PZ8, please.
Yes.
PZ9, PZ10.
Yes.
Thank you.
All righty, PZ 12.
First reading of proposed ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-181, to allow a kindergarten class with a maximum capacity of 13 students in conjunction with a 47 children daycare. Property located at 118 West 7th Street, Hialeah, zoned R3D, multifamily district, and legally described herein. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
All right, Mr. Mestre.
Cesar Mestre, offices at 8105 Northwest 155th Street, Miami Lakes, Florida. This is a single-family home located here in the downtown Hialeah area. All we're asking for is one kindergarten class of 13 students. This is, again, one of those daycares that started way back in 1990 and added grades. The capacity based on the size is only 13. And the daycare, we're asking for 47 based on space also. There was an approval back in 2001 where he had the approval for 78 daycare children. So we're actually reducing that number. I have a slide presentation if you'd like to see it, or if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Do we have any council discussion?
Motion.
We have a motion by Zogby,
Second.
or a second by Vice President.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Tumnidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
PZ 13.
First reading of proposed ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, section 98-181, to allow a K through fifth grade school with a maximum capacity of 55 students in conjunction with a 28 children daycare. Property located at 1006 East 8th Avenue, units 1004, 1006, 1008, 720, and 736. Hialeah Zone C2 Liberal Retail Commercial District and legally described herein. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Caesar, where is this? I'm trying to look up the address here.
This is exactly the same shopping center.
Where the PFEC is?
Where the PPEC is, exactly. This is the one that we had everything on hold because of the parking situation. They had backup parking until June. Deborah and staff went out there, spoke to the owner. He's removed the parking. He's added landscaping, and he's adding parking to the rear portion of the shopping center. This daycare was established in 2001. They have 8 spaces that are allocated just to them. We have a recommendation of approval from staff. We have a recommendation of approval from your P and Z. Again, it's been around for a long time. I have some slides that show the students are doing extremely well when they get to high school. Principals honor roll, honor students, et cetera, et cetera. It's interesting because one of the owners, her daughter went to the school and she got her teaching certificate, bachelor's degree at FIU, and now she's one of the teachers at the site. The owner's here if you have any questions, but again, I have a small slide presentation, but based on the time.
If I may, through the chair,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mestre, is the Smoke City vape store next door to them?
It is, and it came in after the school had been there
Hmm.
for over 20 years,
Okay.
but it is next door.
There's a smoke shop next to it?
Literally next door. In the picture here, it says, it has like a tape on the window. I thought it was like closed. It looked like they threw a brick through the window or something there. And has that proposed any issues with the school?
It has not. I told them the situation with the smoke shop. So like I said, they've been there for
They
over
came
20
first.
years.
Yeah.
And then the smoke shop came in.
Right. And is the entrance of the school through the shopping center, not through the back?
The entrance is going to be through the front. But there has been talks about doing it in the rear.
Okay.
And perhaps that'll happen in the future because of the additional parking that the shopping center owners doing. So it would be more easier for them to use the rear. But I don't want to hold up the process, having to submit new plans and new things, at this point.
Okay.
But that is something that is being, contemplated at this point.
Got it. Okay.
All right, there was a motion, I believe, right?
There was a motion, yeah.
The second.
So second by the vice president.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor,
No.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes, but I would be interested in bringing it back and having the entrance through the back. So if we could possibly do that. Thank you.
motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for May 14th, 2024.
City attorney, if you can work, if, I don't know if it's possible, if you could work with Deborah so that we can know if, for any of these applications moving forward, if there's some sort of smoke shop or vape shop, next door or something like that in these commercial retail centers, okay?
I think that, yeah, we'd be happy to work with them, but we really have, to be frank, Mr. President, we have no way of knowing that. We would be looking to planning, zoning, or building to report that because we don't, I mean, I know, we don't have an inventory for
We
anything.
can find that, but remember that the ordinance, because I was reading it today,
Grandfather.
the schools that are there and the vape shops that are there next to the school and were there before the ordinance, there's nothing with.
Their grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
It's
grandfathered.
good to know, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Now, right, they'll be reported.
Yeah.
but, Right, they're, I think that's your answer there because actually I was gonna ask and you've answered because I was gonna say that should be in violation, but these
Were there.
are grandfathered, so
Yes.
they proceeded and there hasn't been any break in like the vape shop ownership or something like that the city could say,
Well,
no,
if
they've been,
the ownership changed and they transfer the license, there's nothing. we can
nothing
do
you could,
there.
right, but what I mean is that they're
Yeah,
both like
if they
continue.
cease operation and
Right,
want to come
right.
back
They
2
will.
years from now, then
think
there
that's-
they won't be able to.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Can informationally that be included when there's a school next to a vape shop? Is that possible?
Yeah.
All right,
We have
please,
that
if you
there.
would,
We have
thank
that
you.
data done. Yeah, we go to BTR, we ask for the list, we
Perfect.
verify it.
Thank you so much. All right. Who? Okay, FD1.
Proposed resolution approving the final decision of the Planning and Zoning Board, decision number 2024-06, granting a rear setback of 8.1 feet where 20 feet is the minimum required for an existing metal roof to be legalized. Property located at 5491 West Fifth Lane, Hialeah zoned R1, one family district, and providing for an effective date.
All right, we have council discussion.
A motion.
We have a motion by Zogby.
Second.
We have a second by Perez.
Mr. Tumidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez. Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.